know there's a history here. I'd like to get this hearing in today. You know, everybody needs to just focus on the relevant facts, okay? I know there's a history here.
Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you? All right, who's responsible here?
What's that?
Who's responsible here? Whose house is this?
Yeah, been drinking or anything, right?
No.
Okay, drive careful, okay?
Thank you.
We know it's my house because we worked here on that. We've definitely been drinking here.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really? You just ditched it? Awesome.
Yeah, those ones kept walking to the car.
It's truly for the win.
That I was given to. So there was 2 different discs. Okay? They all knew about it.
We're not here to talk about the alcohol stuff, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But this is the second noise complaint we've had here tonight within 2 hours.
How are you?
Good. Hurry up.
Good. Is this your place?
Yeah.
Perfect. You know why we're here?
And I see noise.
Noise, yeah.
Yeah.
Big speaker right there?
Yeah.
Nothing against having a party. Once neighbors start calling in, we have an issue.
Like brains, and like if you need a lot of brains, you're gonna be in trouble.
You got 7, 8 families that are being affected by this, and they just need nobody from the university.
Shock value. And so what he did was he had taken pictures California.
Oh, you're from. I would be outraged if I live in Moscow right now. I'd be.
There we go. I'm muted. So, hey, welcome to Truth and Transparency. We're not going to waste any time. Let's bring them up. Here we go. Trial and Error podcast. Let's see if this works. Ready and begin. Oh,
Hey.
wait. Hi. There we go. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. I was like, you guys can talk? Okay, wait. You want to do this? Like, this is great. So welcome, Dana.
Dana,
Oh,
you're muted.
He might be muted. He's like, yep, sure am. Well, hey,
Grand
Dr.
River's got to get
we
his
can just
technology working. He loves
it
it.
wouldn't be a show without problems. So we rather have technical difficulties and problems than our work be problems, because our work's not problems. We got this down. Let me make sure it's on my end. Oh, he was working. Okay, now he think he's good.
Maybe, Dana, you should have spent more time getting your audio working and less time with the blue mood lighting.
He was working all day on that.
Priorities.
Well, I mean,
You still can't hear you.
he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Well, cheers to us then. What'd you do today? How was your day?
I could just stop. Dana will.
There we come.
Okay, we should have made the most of it when he can't jump in and tell me not to say something. Now you're just muted. Now you can push the mute button.
Oh, maybe that's it. Oh yeah, he has to.
How's
press
that?
it. Oh,
There you are.
These-
cheers.
This is how technically skilled we are, because I'm making fun of Dana, but I'm actually probably the worst one. So if any of you are passionate about anything, if we can make a podcast, you can make a podcast, because we have no clue what we're doing.
Well, I was just gonna say, defense attorney over there, Dana, knock knock. Who does all your like trial stuff when you have to like put stuff up on the screen and you're like, hey, give me exhibit 396. Let's hop to it.
Oh, that's a paying gig. I'm good at that.
You're like,
Kinsey
I was
the
gonna say,
intern.
This, yeah.
don't
this-
people do that
this-
for you?
No. I practice law like here's the law office.
Wow.
Like personal technology, I'm really good at this social media, Canva, YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
That I'm not so good at that.
I feel you. That intro took me like a week.
I loved it.
You like that?
I
put that
love
together
the
back in the day. I was like, because I had to teach myself how to do all of this stuff. Like this was not my wheelhouse. I was like, wait, I have to edit videos. I'm like, wait, what? So I had to like I'm like reading a manual to learn how to use this software program. I'm like, okay, I just want to put out my true crime stuff. Like I have all my material. They're like basically like, Lana, if you want people to understand it, you better learn how to make a damn video. I'm like, God, okay.
I still
Yeah,
haven't.
I'll
learned
have some
TikTok.
idea.
I call it a tiki-talkie for Kinsey the intern, and she thinks I'm 9,000 years
I tell
old.
Katie I've got a great idea for a video, and she's like, really good for you. You should do that.
She's like, she's not gonna make it for you though.
I do.
No.
Well, first questions: are you off this gag order?
I am ungagged. I can say whatever I want. I am just here with my First Amendment rights and my opinions and facts.
Hell yes, this is amazing. So, welcome, gag free. How long were you gagged?
Since May, was it May?
Yeah.
7, 6, however many months that is.
I know
it's a little
hearing was
hard.
in May.
It's a little hard to determine whether I'm still on the sequestration order or not, because typically when someone puts someone on a witness list and sequesters them, they're actually calling them as a witness. So it's confusing because I was not ever called as a witness. Just one of the many abuses of process in this case.
Well, because that was what happened to you and Zach's mom, right?
Yeah.
The state put you guys on their witness list with zero intentions of ever calling you, pretty much.
To be fair, not just Katie, not just Cindy, but also another local media outlet.
Burton. Shout out to Burton Staggs.
Shout out to Burton Staggs. They did everything they could to keep anyone from speaking about this case outside of the courthouse.
Old Bertie was excited about it though. He thought he was going to be on the stand, and I was like, "Oh, Burton, you're not." Not actually gonna like this. And then I saw him at the August hearing. He wasn't as excited anymore. He was mad, understandably and rightly.
Well, so when you say 6 months, we're talking about 6 months from, because I know they put a subpoena into, they wanted to put a protective order on, was it the stuff that you had found? And it was, what was the protective order all consisting?
Okay, let's go back. So the first protective order, there was a protective
let's go
order
back to this.
filed.
How about you guys tell everybody how you got involved in this case? That's probably where how did you guys get involved in the case?
So
I got tricked.
He didn't get tricked. So Doug Bates got appointed by Judge Brent Bradbury. He was on another case, got asked to take the case. Doug calls me and asks me to come on and help.
Was that in 2023? Was that in 2023?
It was August of 2023. He called and he said, I have this case. It's a political mess. It could be career suicide. I can't pay you any money. It's a 4 terabyte file. And it's just a mess in every way. But I think my guy's actually innocent. Will you come do it? And It's like, that sounds like something I shouldn't, but here we go. So I called a couple of friends and kind of asked about the case, because I had just moved to Tennessee in it was 2017 when the trial was going on, but I wasn't from here and had never paid attention to the case. So called a couple colleagues, a former prosecutor friend. They all said, stay away from that. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. So my interests were piqued. And kind of made a deal with Doug. I'll jump on this case with you. If I at any point decide they're guilty or I'm not going to give all my pro bono time on some case if I don't think they're innocent. So I came on the case with Doug with the agreement that at any point I could bail on him and he couldn't hold it against me. So then really to start, we had all the bank boxes before we even got the digital file. There were, he had to rent another office space to just put all the bank boxes. So I would take my minivan down to Centerville and load it up with as many bank boxes as I could fit in it and take it back and go through them. And then it was like a library where then I would drive them back and switch them out. And we were just going through the files that way, getting read up on the case. And I had went and seen Zach. She's a friend of mine who kind of came on as to assist me with it and was an amazing help. She had a history degree and is just really smart and interested in true crime stuff and wanted to go into prison. And so I said, I'll take you to a prison if you help me go through all these files.
Listen, this is this trade-off, man.
Yeah.
And she was hooked. That's awesome.
Yeah. She brought me to a thing and I'm like, I'll bring you to a prison. It's deal. That's friendship.
Yeah, it's like take your kid to work day. It's the same thing.
So we went and saw Zach. We were looking for Jason Autry. He was not in the TDOC, the Tennessee Department of Corrections system anywhere. We could not find him. We had no idea where he was, but we knew he was incarcerated. And when I was at Morgan County meeting Zach had put me in touch with a mutual friend who he knew was in touch with Jason, who could help me figure out where Jason was. Okay. So I had tracked down this person. She told me where Autry was. I went through all the proper, appropriate channels to set up an interview with an inmate, as I've done on many other occasions as a forensic neuropsychologist. Gave them my ID, told them in advance I was going to be bringing a recording device, all the things that you do. I didn't put a GoPro in any of my bodily cavities or anything like that. Like Jennifer Nichols likes to make it sound.
Right. She's amazing.
But I certainly brought a GoPro with me to interview Jason Autry, not with the intention of, I had no idea that the interview was going to be what it was with Jason, that he was going to go into that level of detail and that what he shared with me would be so credible with what I could find in the records. And for me, it was an ethical and a moral issue of, I think the free press is necessary for a functioning criminal justice system. And at some point when there is public corruption going on to that extent, it's not my job to keep your dirty secret. And my allegiance is to the clients and the truth, and not the state of Tennessee in covering up their dirty deeds. So Jennifer Nichols got super upset.
She did.
I had found Jason Autry and went and talked to him, and I released the interview. And so Doug
did you release the interview before? Like, did you release the interview and then she got super upset? Is that like the chronological order of events? Did she like?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember what the order was, because she didn't really. So she didn't know that I existed until I think what happened. We were coming back from Memphis.
Okay.
And we'd gone through Centerville and went to Doug's office straight from the prison, because I did not want to be the person solely in possession of
the goods,
that SD card.
Mhm.
I wanted it in Doug's hands right away so that he could have it too. And I mean, I wanted him to see it because
absolutely
it was crazy. So Doug,
what was that ride? What was that ride like when you like left Jason Autry and you're in the vehicle? Were you just like, holy shit, what the hell did we just uncover? Or what just happened?
Yes.
Were you just like,
Nicole was with me, and I remember Nicole, we were walking out of Shelby County Penal Farm, and she said, I like him. He's like that. What did she say? She goes,
I like him.
Like that, you know, that uncle that you smoke pot with before Thanksgiving.
That's a good way to describe him.
I think she said cousin, but
cousin.
Uncle. Cousin.
Yeah, uncle's more creepy. And he did not have a creepy vibe. I mean, cousin is a better fit. She did say cousin. That cousin that you smoked pot with before Thanksgiving. But then I think just on the ride to Centerville, you know, all I was thinking was I can't wait for Terry Dicus and Jennifer Thompson to see this because they deserve to see it. And really, I've been getting credit for doing things in this case. All I've really done in this case for the most part is bang on some doors and yell and say, hey, look at this stuff that Terry Dicus already found 10 years ago that no one is paying attention to. We should probably look at that again and pay attention to it. So I had some nice groundwork of, I was able to talk to him and talk to the retired FBI agent, Art Viveros, and Johnny Walker, the U.S. Marshal, and they were all super helpful. And this case had haunted them. Jennifer Thompson was extremely helpful and open with anything she could do to bring justice on this. So I just kept thinking, I can't wait for them to see this. And both of them were, I'm not going to say Terry Dicus cried, but Jennifer Thompson did. And I'm not going to say anything. I think Terry Dicus was moved by it. It was just, so that was what was on my mind is I can't wait for them to get the
it also probably, it's vindicating. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. He's like,
they were right.
Yeah, exactly. And they knew what they knew. They saw what, he wasn't saying stuff that was just out of the blue. I mean, he's like, this is evident. Just, we can't make stuff up, but okay, if you guys want to make stuff up, that means you're going to kick me off the case and then you're going to take it your own made up way.
I think he's a smart guy, and I think Terry Dicus is a very ethical person. He's not the kind of person who's going to do something shady.
Yeah.
I think he's almost so ethical.
Yeah, that's why somebody would want him off the case.
Other people would do shady stuff. And so he anticipates the best in people, which is probably a good way to interact with
It's not just that. He's not just ethical. He's also a little bit naive politically because in my opinion, he got ambushed by his peers and his colleagues in the TBI. And it never occurred to him probably that they were going to do that to him. Because he was out there saying, I think I have this solved. And he was like making the case and he was like, come on guys, help me find, like, we need a couple more pieces here basically. And then whammo. And a few months after that, he's not only not on the case, he's out of law enforcement for good.
Because he wasn't a ball player, right? I mean,
because he wouldn't just go along with what was convenient for the narrative that those in power wanted to be telling. So Doug did the right thing as he always does and sent the recording to Jennifer Nichols. So she was aware of it and knew of it. And then I think when she watched the recording, that's when she decided that she was going to be my nemesis.
Oh, well, what date do you think she saw that recording? Like, throw out a date when you think she saw that recording. Like,
okay, we interviewed him. It was like a couple days before Christmas in 2023. Yeah. I remember by April of 2024, Dana, you were already involved. So it would have been probably January, February or so. Because
by then they had issued they had requested a subpoena for Dr. Spirko, and that's how I got involved.
Yeah, on 4/12. By the way, if you wanted to know, it was April 12th, 2024.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
what I'm good with. Dates and timestamps.
Love it.
You need something, Yeah, that
There you
happened on
go.
4/12/2024, and I was like, oh hot damn, because they wrote the writ on 1/2024, and then there was filings, and I
Yes.
be like, pop, you get pop with this, and I was just like, whoa, that was just like, it was like within 4 months is what
And
I
it
saw.
wasn't surprising. Nichols behind the scenes was telling everyone she was going to throw me in jail and have me arrested for criminal behavior and throw other people in jail. And anyone who disagrees with her is going to be losing their license and being arrested. So not a shocker, but she was definitely not. There's a lot of attention on me that was not helpful for Doug because I was, I guess, kind of the focus of her ire at that point. And the other thing that was going on at the same time was Cindy Adams, Dylan and Zach's mom, had been asking me to go see Dylan. And Dylan was getting anxious because he's housed in Riverbend. And the recant had come out and made some news in local. And I think actually there's a one or two national stories. It had made news enough that it was getting around in the prisons, I guess.
Yeah.
And so Dylan was aware that some stuff was going on with Zach's case, and he was getting really anxious, calling his mom, just worried, everyone's going to forget about him and is like, remember me. And so Cindy was wanting me to go see Dylan and work on behalf of Dylan as well. From my standpoint, in the role I was in, I could absolutely advocate on behalf of both Zach and Dylan. But Doug, as an attorney, because he's representing Zach, there's some conflict of interest there from a legal standpoint that weren't relevant to me. But if I'm working as the agent of the attorney, I have to operate under the attorney's umbrella. And on top of that, Doug and I were both in a situation of, what do we do here? We both have our ethics that we have to be personally responsible for. And with this level of misconduct that's come out, my ethical guidelines and his ethical guidelines, it's just like, it made sense for us to continue working together, but for me not to be under his agency, but rather me working as a colleague of his, both on part of the same defense team, but not as his agent, but rather as my own agent for the defense. So I could work for both Doug and I'm sorry, not for Doug. So I could work for both Zach and Dylan.
Got you.
So it made sense in a lot of ways. And then I needed a criminal defense attorney because it became apparent that I had made some enemies with the TBI and TDOC and the most corrupt DA's office in the state. So I called Dana.
Because Dana's like, I got tricked into this.
Yeah, he did not get tricked.
No.
He got enticed, maybe. I think he thought I was exaggerating. And so he just thought it was going to be funny or something. And then he realized.
No, I thought it was, no. I thought it was limited. I thought it was quash a subpoena on behalf of an expert, of a Rule 16, consulting, testifying expert. I thought this was like slam dunk, no subpoena for you. Have a nice day. Let me know if you need anything else.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was. I was like, hey, can you quash the subpoena?
And in fact, all I did was file a notice of appearance.
I saw that. That was coming next.
They bailed.
That was yours, right?
It went away.
Yeah. I literally filed a 1-sentence notice of appearance.
Yeah.
Never filed anything to address the subpoena. And they said, never mind. But I think, honestly, I'm telling it as if it's got something to do with me. I think really what happened was what they really wanted was they wanted to shut Katie up. And by that time, everything had been published anyway. And so there wasn't a lot of point in having that fight with her about bring us all your credentials and your reports and everything you've published and all this other crap that they were subpoenaing. So I don't really take any credit for it, but that is what happened.
Okay, so my question here then is, well, okay, sorry. Did you want to add to that?
No, well, so then Dana is still my attorney on this case, and I'm calling him occasionally and telling him these wild stories, and he's half listening and half saying, oh, you're probably confused.
Well, were you guys doing the podcast at that time? That was
no,
Yeah, that's what I wanted to like tell everybody is like.
Oh no, that's a whole nother.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to
That's
tell the
my
story.
fault.
I'm going to tell the story exactly accurately as it happened. So what happened is,
So wait. 1 second. When you publish the interview, so everybody can understand, when you publish the interview of Jason Autry recanting, basically, right? How did you get that out publicly? What'd you do?
So a 2020 producer had called me and asked for it, and I had some other reporters and that contact when Doug made the filing, because it was in the record and they had called and asked about it.
Okay.
And I was leery to give up the control of something, because you don't know. I don't want to
have any editing over it. It's once you give it up, then they can do what the hell they want with it. And I'm like, that's what they wanted to do with me in the Idaho 4 case. And I was like, absolutely not. You're not getting all of my work, and you can just cast me as some like reality character. You out of your mind? I'm not a reality character. These people are dead. It was my blood, sweat, and tears that went into like researching it all. I was like, yeah, have a good day. I told Paramount to go fuck themselves.
Yes, because you don't want to contribute to that. And
yeah.
When I had reporters reach out, I'm thinking an investigative reporter, like they're going out and figuring like solving mysteries and like TV. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, we could be teammates. You come in and you figure stuff, but they don't want that for the most part. They just want a sound bite and not to do any work. And it's like, well, I'm not going to give you something just to have a sound bite. You got to file some FOIAs and do something for me here.
Right.
So
use your attorneys to get stuff done, because you guys have all these resources. I want you to put your money behind what I'm able to do. Like, come on, like that's the business relationship I want.
100%. So Christina Corbin, a 2020 producer, reaches out, and I looked her up and looked up some of her work. She seemed super legit. She had done some really impressive work on she'd solved another cold case previously. I just, everything about her felt really safe, and that she was going to not misrepresent anything. So I turned it over. Here you go. And they were doing a follow-up episode on it. And I wanted it out. I wanted, whether it was even out or not, I wanted Nichols to know it was recorded. Yeah. And I wanted it to be recorded. That was, for me, it's like do no harm first and foremost. I was not going to talk to Jason Autry if there's any chance I was going to get a recant from him and not have it recorded, because I think that would be, I would, stupid. He would get killed. That's what I think he would end up dangerous.
Yeah, stupid.
So dangerous. I felt like it was protecting the safety of my interview subject by recording it, because it takes away their motivation to murder him in the prison. And so that was part of the motivation. Part of it was I think it's the state seems to have this. It's like they're worried that I've broken some privilege, violated some. The privilege is with my clients, and my clients are not Jennifer Nichols and the state. My clients had no problem with me releasing it. Mm-hmm. So if I violated a TDOC policy, then the TDOC can send me an email about it and we can figure it out, whatever. But that's not really her business anyway. So but she was real mad about it. And 2020 released segments of it. We eventually put the entire unedited version on YouTube, because we don't have anything to hide. Like look at it, whatever. Yep. So Dana were you
pleased with that? Were you pleased with how they represented you, how they represented it? How did that work out? Like, or were you like, I wish that you guys would have done this? I'm just curious of everything cool? Was it like the
2020 piece when they came out did the story?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think
if you don't want to answer that, you don't have to.
I'll answer anything. I mean, it's like to my own detriment. Ask me a question, I'll give you the answer. I think they do a really good job of their fact checking.
Truth.
They want to be. They have integrity. I think they want to get the story right. They also have a lot of limitations because they have 2 hours to tell a thousand.
Go back and tell about the beginning parts, and then to go on through. Yeah.
And they have a legal team that they have a lot of lawyers, any type of corporate media enterprise where they're limited. I think there was a lot more they wanted to put out that their attorneys wouldn't, because when you've got a wrongful conviction case, the presumption is guilt, not innocence. And so they're real hesitant on what they can put out. So I know that some of the team probably wish they could have put out more that they had, but I was super impressed with Christina. There's another producer on the case as well who was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Eva Pilgrim, I think, is fantastic. Nothing but good intentions, and for having 2 hours to put out something that a legal team can approve,
and you have to go through like that chain. Like that's not a difficult chain. Like it can get broken at any point. And I just remember this from dealing with Paramount. I redlined what Paramount sent me, and they said, "You redlined us." I said, "Yeah, and these are my terms, and I'm not budging. Don't even come back with anything else."
Mm-hmm. And because it's not just me. Like, if you want to make me look bad, fine. Like, I'll make myself look bad probably anyway.
That's what I say all the time. I can do that myself.
But it's, when you're working on behalf of people who are in a vulnerable situation and have been so harmed by media putting out sound bites and not digging in and fact checking and making sure they have the full story, I felt definitely an obligation to make sure that I was not putting them in any situation where I don't want to be associated with falsehoods being spread.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so we eventually put out the entire unedited, on our channel so people can watch it. But what was happening with Dana and I during this time was Dana kept saying, we got to whiteboard this thing. Like, he wanted me to just walk him through the whole case, because I had the whole case file and I knew the case inside out. Dana was hearing these stories. And
well, hold on. Katie would call me or text me and say, "Oh my God, you have to read this crazy IR. Oh my God, you have to listen to this 45-minute interview. Oh my God, you have to." And I was like, the subpoena went away. I'm done. I did what I came here to do. And she kept telling me more and more. And frankly, at the time I was sitting there saying, she's a loon. Like this shit didn't happen.
He didn't really think I was a loon, but
I was like, well, maybe she doesn't understand because she's not a lawyer, or she's read something and she doesn't, it's out of context, or I'm like, in a case like this, I'm sure there's a 1,000 pieces of paper that are insane, that don't mean anything, that are not part of the conviction or whatever else. And she kept telling me all this, and I would be like, all right, fine.
Part of the problem was we kept setting up that we were going to whiteboard it, is what Dana says, whiteboard it. But every time we would meet, we would end up getting in an argument about whether or not Dana could get me in a trunk. If I didn't want to
doing a what?
I don't think anyone could get me in a trunk, and I actually feel like I should not be publicly putting this out there.
We didn't really argue about it. I just told her,
like, physically put you in the trunk of a car.
Yeah. He thinks he could. I don't.
Okay, so have you ever tried that?
Like a cat. I have good sense of my surroundings, but that interaction would.
Well, how big of a trunk? I'm just curious.
Any trunk.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you could get me in a trunk.
Just no trunks. Okay. It ain't happening.
I think I could outrun him. I'm sorry, Dana. I think I could.
So this is what would happen. And you're like, we're not even whiteboarding because you and me are arguing about a trunk.
So then Doug's calling me like, why isn't Dana getting more involved? Why is it? And it's like, oh, the trunk.
So what gave? What gave where you whiteboarded it for him finally?
We met one day and we were talking through the case, and Dana said this should be a podcast.
Yes.
And then I went,
you said, oh my God, what did I just tell? What did I just tell her?
Yeah.
And wait, when do you think that was?
I said that out loud.
Was that in like March, or like how long did you guys? Because I know that
your guys' at the factory. When was that?
It was
March.
Probably about a year ago.
February.
I have it as March 2025, but so
like
you guys
started,
probably decided.
Yeah, it would have been like January, February, because I think we started recording in March.
March 3rd, 2025.
You know better.
I'm just throwing out these dates for you.
We need her in the podcast. Keep.
I was like, March 3rd, 2025 is when they first started producing, but I don't know when they started like working on it because I know that the first video came out March 3rd of 2025. Because I was just trying to figure out when Jennifer Nichols lost her shit, and I think
it has been coming.
She talks about you every chance she wants to narrate. She'd be like, "Wow, podcaster, doctor, whatever she goes by these days." And I died.
Neuropsychologist.
Yeah, when she said that on the stand, I was like, she just gave her 3 titles, and she said, you know, whatever she wants to go by, and she grabs her little water and she unscrews it like this, like so, like.
But is she still a psychologist? Because I know they were looking into that. I know they were.
Yeah, bitch, you were looking into it because you're harassing me, trying to take my license and put me in prison. What are you gonna? You blacklisted me from all the prisons. How are you gonna even put me in prison? They don't let me in anymore because of you.
Okay, because of her, I have a clip that I want to show you from back in. This would have been like 9 years ago. I want to know if you've ever seen this clip from Jennifer. Okay, it's 30 seconds. Okay,
I'm excited.
All right, here you go. Tell me if you've ever seen this. All right, so I got to go that screen. Let me go like right here. Let me add this. Okay, here we go. Have you ever seen
Look at Dana's face. That's a face he's had since I got off my sequestration. Doug and Dana were so happy when I was gagged.
Oh, they probably were. Here you go.
The 4 of us weren't on the case for the first several years. I know what's happened in the past year and a half for us and the past 6 months for these guys, and we have a trial date, and we'll be ready on trial date. And so all of these things that we're talking about in between now and the trial date are simply dates for motions to be filed and responded to and argued. And you heard what the judge said. He plans to go forward on April 3rd.
The judge stated.
All right, there you go. There you have it, guys. She is just a jummy gallio jala. Like, you're just like, oh wow. Like, that was back when they decided that the case would move forward, but it was going to be at a different.
I lost it. I lost the feed. I can't hear anything.
Oh, you did? Okay, hold on. Well, I cut Paul off because I just wanted you to see Shug tits over there.
I heard it.
Oh, could you
I
not
heard
hear
the
it?
video, but I can't hear anything else now.
Can you hear me and Lana talking?
Yeah, can you hear us talking?
I can hear you.
Oh wait, hold
Who's
on one
you?
second.
Lana or me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear Katie.
Oh, you can't hear me?
You can't hear
Hold on,
Lana?
I'm gonna leave and come back. I'll come back. Leave studio.
She's going out and back in like.
Now it's just us. I
She'll-
feel like
she'll
when you're
pop
in
back in.
class and the teacher leaves the room.
Right.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
I
I
feel
can
like
hear
when
you
you're
now.
in class and the teacher leaves the room, it's like, what can we do?
You're like spitballing it. I just had to play that little clip because doesn't she just look the same? Everything about her is just the same. Just
When was that?
it was when they changed. It was. I'll get you the exact date, but didn't they change?
That was probably around 20, late 16, early 17, because she's saying April.
It was 9 years ago, and the exact date because they were changing locations of the trial.
Okay.
And so
Probably 2016.
yeah, it was
I'm guessing
2016, August 17th. Yep.
that makes sense. Yeah. Because it was April and then they pushed it to July and then September for the trial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I found that and I'm like, dude, that's like a rarity. You can't, that was like a clip that, because I started researching the hell out of that broad after I saw her testify. But I was like, you know what? This is like it was so hard to find that. And I was like, I'm going to show them this clip.
I've seen that clip because I'm crazy.
You have?
Oh,
Okay.
everything. If there is something about her, like if she's watching right now,
yeah,
whatever you think or worried I know more. So
we got you, girl. Yeah, because I was looking up everything about her because I can't believe holy God, like it was so hard to watch that live because I had to try to keep an even keel, and I'm like, dude, I can't, and so I'm just gonna let it rip because this is ridiculous. She is absolutely ridiculous. So I give you props for even dealing with the broad. So here we go.
I have a fun behind the scenes thing I'll share with you. It'll take me a second. I'll send it to you in the app and you can put it up if you want. Doug's gonna be so mad. I made a meme
Oh, good.
Dana, I'm going to share the meme. He's saying no. I'm going to do it anyway. Doug will be so mad. So in the beginning of this case,
Don't.
I already decided I'm going to do it. You can't stop me. I'm going to do it.
So
there was a meme I made because in the beginning of the case, so Doug is one of those people where if there's any way possible that he can frame a situation without anyone being at fault or morally bankrupt, or just everyone has good intentions and sometimes things don't go right, Doug is not going to enter into any conflict that he doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Doug was real motivated to maybe Nichols is just, maybe it was all a big mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't know any better and there's no misconduct. It was just a series of coincidences and errors that she didn't figure out. And I felt like she was being manipulative and deceitful.
Hell yeah.
And I would say maniacal with Doug. And I thought that Doug was giving her a little bit too much benefit of doubt. And I was concerned that Doug should maybe be a little more cautious. And so whenever I thought Doug was giving her maybe too much benefit of doubt, I'd send him this meme.
I want to say before you send it.
I will. I'm not going to put it up.
Yeah, she's gonna when she sees it.
I disapprove.
You love this meme though.
I disapprove of its publication at this time. But
I just said it to you.
So
Doug it's important to understand something about Doug. Doug is a 7th generation lawyer.
Okay.
Practicing in Centerville, Tennessee.
Okay.
His 7th generation male ancestor started practicing law on the square in Centerville shortly after the Civil War. And there has been a Bates man practicing there ever since. They go way back. And Doug's father, who I met when I was a young lawyer.
Doug 3. Doug 3 was at Doug's closing.
Doug's dad is an extraordinary gentleman. And Doug's grandfather defended Nazis at Nuremberg.
Wow.
And so Doug comes from a long line of honorable lawyers who were taught to practice law by their dad in a rural setting where you can't go around and be abrasive or unnecessarily confrontational or anything like that. So Doug's approach to Jennifer Nichols was exactly what one would expect. He's a gentleman. And he believes in the law, and he believes in the process, and he believes that people show up, and he expects people to behave as he will behave, which is honorably and professionally. And if you want to know how we're going to do this, you get the book out and you read the rules, and that's how we're going to do this. I think it took Doug a little while and maybe a little bit of prodding from Dr. Spirko to reevaluate his assessment of what he was in on here, of what he was into here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of which was motivated with shame.
Did you get it? Did you get the meme? Did you look at it?
Oh, well, I put my phone down because I was like, oh God, because once I look at it, I'm gonna be like, okay, let's see. Let's see what
now you have to. I had no idea what this was. They had to explain it to me, but I'm old, so.
Right?
See,
this is going up. This is definitely going up.
So apparently, there's an age at which this.
It's not an age, Dana. It's that you have boys.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
And sometimes you just miss cultural references.
Oh my God.
Not many, but this one apparently.
Not many, but this one.
This one I had no idea what this was.
Doug got it.
Oh, immediately. This is amazing. I'm gotta put this up. Oh my God. Okay, it's going up. Hold on, I just said it to myself.
Doug would never acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And I would reference it in conversations and he would just move on as though
he'd be
he
like,
would will it to go away.
like it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. All right, let's see. Here we go. This
is some of my best work in this case, honestly. This is, I think, one of the things I'm most proud of.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna just do it like this. Hold on. Here she is. Here's Johnny. Is it showing? Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is absolutely amazing.
I still have no idea what it means, but apparently it's an insult.
You guys know? It's Ariel. This is insane. This is great.
Look at his face. He's so innocent. Like he doesn't think he thinks he's gonna go.
He thinks it's all just
the
like
world.
Oh my god. When did you make this? You're just like messing around like, God, she's like, I gotta just get Doug to understand.
At some point when I had much more important things to do with my time, but this is what took precedence.
This is the most important thing. Oh, there we go. Perfect. See? If you know, you know. If you don't, hey, you out. So thank you for sharing that, by the way. We break the rules here occasionally. Just occasionally, just
Dana.
We're gonna merch that shit. Oh my god. You can make merch. You can make some t-shirts
Merch
of that
shit.
Merch that shit. Dude, if there's a trial too, those are gonna be sold outside the courtroom. Mark my words, because I'm gonna sell them.
Yes. And there's already a group in Memphis that has been creating Amy Wyrick as a criminal t-shirts.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So those are already in production.
So there we go. So you have to stay out of the courtroom. You can't be in there. You weren't even allowed to watch the trial, or I should say the trial. Now fast forward, because we're gonna come back for just a second. But if we fast forward, when you were sequestered, because you're on the witness list, you couldn't even watch the hearings.
Correct.
Okay.
Could not watch the hearings, could not talk to witnesses, could not talk about the case, could not read media about the case.
When did the witness list come out that you were notified that that's when did the sequestration start?
They threw me out of the courtroom in May.
Right off the bat, right when the evidentiary hearing opened, because they had actually served Katie with a subpoena advance of.
But first, Doug, the first thing though was that they were pitching a fit because they didn't want Doug to be able to call me as a witness. So then Doug, with the whole protective order and everything, Doug is just basically like, I'm not going to call her, like move on, to drop the issue and not have it be distracting. Okay. And so Doug said, I'm not going to call her as a witness, basically because he didn't want this distraction going on and wasting all this time.
Yeah.
So Doug committed he wasn't going to call me, which should have satisfied them. But then once he committed that he wasn't going to call me as a witness, they went from not wanting me called as a witness to I was going to be called as their witness.
Well, technically, they did not want Katie to testify as an expert. They had at least a cover story that they would call Katie. When the hearing started, one of the very first things that had
they don't get to decide. If they call me as a witness and Doug qualifies me as an expert, then I'm an expert witness. They don't get to just decide.
No, the rules would require some disclosure in advance if you were a testifying expert.
Yes, but I would give my records.
But
when was that deadline?
This before the hearing. So
yeah.
So Doug had said, I'm not calling Dr. Spirko as an expert witness. And they said, well, that's fine. But we think we need her as a witness because at a minimum, she is the person who could authenticate the Jason Autry tape. She is the person who could say what happened in the room before and after the recording started. And we have some other problems that they, alleged with respect to contact with witnesses before the hearing and whatever. So in May, when they put her
they were worried that I was interfering with Janet Britt's.
I saw that 56 pages.
Safety, I guess.
Yeah, when they put Dr. Spirko on the witness list in May, they had at least a plausible cover story.
Mm-hmm.
That cover story began to wear thin when Autry's video was excluded from evidence, because at that point she is no longer an authenticating witness. And at that point they moved on to I don't think they ever said this out loud, but I think the issue that if I were them, I would have said if I needed a reason to keep Katie on the witness list was, well, we may need her to authenticate some jail recordings with Zach. But once Zach testified, there was absolutely no reason, no good faith reason in my view, that they could keep her on the witness list, but they did. They also, in the middle of the hearing, when Doug said, early in the hearing, like back at, I think it was in May, Cindy Adams came in, and Doug, being the appropriate professional guy he is, said, Your Honor, one of my witnesses has arrived, but I'm striking her from my witness list. I'm releasing her from the subpoena, so she will not be subject to the rule. And Amy Wyrick jumped up and said, well, that's all right. We're going to slap a subpoena on her. Get her out. And they literally ran Zach's mother out of the courtroom, having orally announced in court that they were going to slap a subpoena on her.
Yeah.
So it was pretty,
just
it was shameless.
Shameless. Yeah.
Shameless.
I mean, you're the attorney here. I mean, would you ever have done something like that?
That was a stunt that's beneath the standard, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, so
I don't get why. I just don't even. A lot
cruel.
of this stuff
That was cruel as hell.
Well, I mean, I have a theory.
Amy Wyrick does reminds me of that Will Ferrell meme with the whole wheel of cheese, where it's like, I'm not even mad. Like, I'm impressed. You ate the whole wheel of cheese. It's just like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Well,
it's just confusing why she would do some of the things she does, because it seems so ridiculous.
I understand why they didn't want Katie in the room. That's a whole Hurricane Katie that they didn't want to deal with. But putting Cindy out, in my view, had probably a lot to do with Karen Bobo's preferences. And I can imagine that if Karen Bobo looked around the room and said, if my daughter can't be here, Zach's mother can't be here, or something like that. I can't think of a good faith reason for them to keep Cindy Adams out of the courtroom once Doug released her. She wasn't on their witness list to begin with.
Dana and I disagree about that. The degree to which I don't think Karen Bobo is calling the shots on anything. I think the state is running I think the state is horribly mistreating that family, and they're brainwashed and given all kinds of misinformation. And I don't really think they have a clear understanding of what the state.
I think both can be true. I think the Bobo family has been misled. I think things have been withheld from them. I think they have been sold a bill of goods in many ways. But I also think that the state is very receptive to the preferences of the Bobo family with respect to who can come in the room and not. Because during one of the breaks in May, I think it was, Katie, Dana Bobo approached you and cursed you in person in the courthouse. So I'm pretty sure that they have some personal preferences about who can come in the courtroom and watch what's going on.
Well, so then I have a question for you with this, and this is going to be a hard question. Wouldn't the parents want the right person that killed their daughter?
Absolutely. I think those parents' grief has been weaponized and taken advantage of by the state on such a level. And grief does something to you. I don't think you can cognitively process the amount of information that they would have to process to even figure out the layers and levels of deception and misconduct that has occurred. And the state has you have this sense of authority and moral superiority that you're supposed to be doing the right thing. And it's completely understandable to me that the family would have some level of trust that the state would be doing the right thing. And I think years and years of this, all of us, I quit on Doug like 3 different times where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. Because I would hear something without even looking into it. Someone with credibility would say, well, this happened, or didn't you hear there was a video of it? And it would be a lawyer or someone that I would normally believe would not be loose with facts and would make sure they're saying something correct. And I would think, well, Doug, why'd you get me involved in this shit? Like, I'm done. And then we would look into it and realize that there was nothing behind it. And it was some layer of just house of cards falling down where there's no factual basis to it again and again and again. The level of misinformation and blatant intentional deceit in this case is like nothing I've ever seen in my life. I cannot imagine what that family has been through. So I don't know what they know. I don't know what they think. I don't know what they believe. I feel a tremendous amount of sympathy and empathy for them. But
I think this is a situation where you said a minute ago, Lana, that don't you want to know that you have the right person?
Mhm.
I think what happened here was, of course, they wanted the right person for the first 5 minutes, the first 5 days, the first 5 weeks, maybe even the first 5 months. But I think at some point they just wanted it over. And we've argued, Katie and I have argued.
Dana and I argue about this all the time.
I
I'm going to just interrupt him because I don't even want him to say it, because as a mother, I can't even entertain that. As a mother, you want to know the truth.
But
you're going to fight for the truth.
Well, I have a question then about
hours
that.
Hold
and
on,
hours
hold
and
on.
hours. I'm going to stop hours of Karen Bobo interviewing people, going out and investigating the case herself because no one else was doing anything. I believe as a mother, Karen Bobo did want the truth. I don't think that the idea that, just anything is better so I can rest.
You didn't let me finish. You didn't let me finish.
You had months, Dana.
That was gagged, man. That was great. Well, you guys are gonna love my take then. Oh my god, we're gonna
hold on. But Dana's perception or Dana's perspective is equally valid, and
I don't think they ever stopped wanting to know that the right person was convicted. I think that 3.5 years later, when Holly's remains had not been found, there was a powerful sense of need for closure, which I think the state of Tennessee, through its agents, played upon and told the Bobos, we're bringing you closure. We have a break in the case, which they had a week after Holly's remains were found, when Dylan so-called confessed. And I think that came as a huge relief to the Bobo family, who needed not only to know or believe that the right people were being pursued and charged, but also that then they were given some reason to believe that the right people were being charged. And I think at that point, exhausted and ready to get this done, they embraced this so-called knowledge because they wanted to be done. And so when someone came and said Dylan confessed and told us everything, I think at that moment in time, it's entirely possible that they said, good, get them, line them up, get them in the courthouse and put them in the electric chair. And they never looked back from that. So I don't believe that Karen Bobo or Dana Bobo consciously today knows that the wrong men are in prison. I think that they were ready to embrace enough, something that was credible enough that they were like, good. Thank you for solving the crime. Now get them in prison and put them to death. So I think it's some of both, but I think it went from a need to know that it was right to a need to believe that it was right. And in my opinion, they continue to believe that the right people were convicted. I don't think they're sitting in their home today thinking, wow, we really got duped and sold a bill of goods here. I think they were sold a bill of goods, but I don't think they think that.
Okay. And then I have a question for you. I think this is, so where did you guys begin your timeline when you guys, especially you, Dr. Katie Spirko, when you decided like, hey, we have to start from the beginning to lay out the case. So if I am not going to help somebody that killed another person, you know what I mean? Like, so because I've gone through all these files, I've gone through, I should say, the expert reports as well. And was there any phone records that were obtained from like the night before and the day before, because it was something that was really interesting with your interview with Jason Autry that put me on this path. And he said that y'all are assuming that she was taken that day, that morning. What makes you think that it didn't happen earlier?
She was taken that morning. Yes, we had all of
That's
her.
what I'm trying to say. Like, so like, did you guys go from
text messages, her phone calls? We had really every phone record of everyone in that county. The amount of
when
data.
did they begin? When were they? Like, was it like the 7:30? Like, is that like the ones like
January of 2013? I think is when the record started. For the
so they went back like the 6 months. Is that what you're trying to say? Like, or like 4 months?
I have like the text message history for Holly since January of 2011 is in the record.
So on the day that she was taken, you know how like the cast people, when they made their report, they started at, I'm just curious, they started at 7:30. Was that the first movement, like the first time that she was ever calling or texting on the phone?
No. So Holly was arguing with her boyfriend that night, like the night before, just normal. You're 20 and you have a boyfriend argument stuff. But I think they were up late-ish for because she got up at, I'm gonna say like 4:30 in the morning. She got up real early to study for a test that day at her nursing program. So she had been, and her boyfriend was hunting on her grandparents' property on the other side of town. So when I don't hunt, but I guess you're up really early doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was up real early. So they had been exchanging text messages that morning because the reason that Karen knew that Drew wasn't there was because right before the kidnapping occurred, there had been this exchange where Drew was reaching out to Holly because there was someone else hunting on the property that didn't think Drew was supposed to be there. And so he was calling Holly, then Holly called her mom, and then the mom is calling the other person on the property saying, that's my daughter's boyfriend, and I gave him permission to be there. So this is all going on, and Drew, Holly, and Karen, her mom, are communicating about this, him hunting on this property and him needing permission to be there because of this thing, this not altercation, but this confusion going on that relative's property. So when Clint,
so I have a question, man. I have a question right there. So Drew's testimony said that he went to work that day at 8 a.m. and he was there early that day. And so my question is then, if Drew and he had talked with the family in the different timestamps, wouldn't Holly's mom know that Drew was no longer turkey hunting and he was actually at work, like he was on his way driving back?
I'm not sure that the distinction was ever explored except for this. The issue that emerged emergently was that when Clint called and when Clint spoke to his mother, he was mistakenly under the impression that it was Drew, the boyfriend, in the garage with Holly. Wherever it was Karen thought Clint was at the moment, either out in the field with a shotgun or on his way to work, she knew he was not at the Bobo home. And she immediately knew that whoever this was.
How did she know that?
Because she had spoken to people and knew that he was
well,
far
she had
enough
talked
away.
to Drew, who was at the property and was interacting with someone else who was also hunting on that property.
Yeah. She knew that Drew was not at her home, and so it could not be Drew in the garage when Clint expressed that he thought it was Drew. So whether or not Karen knew at that moment in time that Drew was in a car or in a field or whatever, she knew he wasn't there.
And while Karen didn't know this at the time, the records are consistent with that in terms of the cell phone sector that Drew's phone was pinging off of at the time. His phone was pinging off a sector that is consistent with him being on that property, not at the
I will say this for the investigation. Given what they had to work with that morning, which was almost nothing, they correctly started inside the home and worked out. They stuck on Clint for a long time, and people kept circling back to Clint, and sometimes the family, but in the end, between phone records and eyewitnesses and everything else, multiple interviews, they pretty quickly and conclusively determined that nobody known to the family had been involved in this.
Someone in the chat asked what kind of gun Drew was using to hunt.
I imagine it's a 12 gauge or a 20 gauge shotgun.
So
I imagine. I will find out.
Okay, so this is
I don't know the answer to that, but if it's in the record, I'll find it. I'm going to make a note of questions.
Well, he was turkey hunting. So,
okay. Okay. Did Jennifer Thompson ever tell you why the only cross-examination question that she asked Drew was what was his phone number back then? You guys aware of that? The only cross-examination question that she asked him was, what was your, do you remember what your phone number was back then? And he said, no, I don't. And then she read off the number and it got blanked out over like the version that we got because we're watching it on like Law and Crime or whatever, Court TV, whoever was producing it. And when she read off that number, Drew, the boyfriend, says, no, that's not my number. And do you know, basically, she was trying to go somewhere.
And it was like, I don't remember whose number.
Well, I've never asked her that. I would imagine that her strategy being we're putting Terry Britt up for this crime, that she didn't want to raise and lose credibility by raising that. Well, maybe it was Drew and they didn't know, or they messed up this investigation or anything like that. I think by then too, it was pretty conclusively established that Drew was where he said he was and had nothing whatsoever to do with this.
Well, I would say I do not believe that Drew was in any way knowingly involved. I completely understand the suspicion surrounding Drew's location hunting and some of the stuff going on with Clint and the questions people have about all of that. And I do think there's more to the story than has been released yet. And some of it I will get locked in a trunk if I say right now, but we will be exploring in season 2 of Trial and Error that is going to get a lot more into the law enforcement corruption surrounding this case in ways that will blow your mind and are well documented.
I believe it. I guess the reason I was wondering this is because the first phone call that ever was made from, as far as cast was on that morning, was at 7:30 a.m. It was Karen calling Holly and not Holly calling Karen. Are you aware of that?
That sounds right, but I think Holly had texted Karen. I think Drew had called Holly had texted Karen, and then Karen had called her, but I don't recall offhand. I'm going to see if I have that up that I can. I don't know if I should have. While we're talking about this, I'm going to see if I have that handy that I could look at it while we're talking those records.
Because what I went back just to look at was I went off of the testimony, the cast, your guys' guy. Like I took all of them, and something that I thought was interesting was the fact that all of the outgoing usage of here. I'm just going to use my Elmo here for a second. I think it'll just help for people to visualize. And let me just share this. I can just put whatever I want underneath it and it just pops up. Here you go. And then I can zoom in. This is what you guys.
My intern Kinsey is. I know she's in the chat and the comments, and she's watching this. Kinsey, if you remember, if you have it handy, there's a timeline I sent you at some point. That's the day of timeline that has all the text messages and calls and basically everything that happened that morning. If you have that handy, if you could send it to me on the app we have, that's what I'm looking for right now.
Hector, this is what I call Hector. His name's Hector. It's Hector the projector. I'm going to make it a bunch bigger, but is this what they used? They started at 7:30. Is that what? Is that?
That's not when her phone became active that morning. I think that's just they started at 7:30. I imagine because she got abducted shortly after that, and so they're probably picking a time. But her phone, that wasn't the first activity her phone had that morning.
Yeah, it began at 4:59 or something like that.
That sounds right.
Okay. Just something that I was looking at, though. I was just curious as to why they started at 7:30 as far as to looking at like the phone calls, though, or the text messages, rather.
Well, this is an exhibit that the state made if I remember right. And
Yeah.
they were, how do I say this accurately? The state was selective about what they put on any given page and where.
Okay.
So you'll notice the thing that was really kind of driven home in the last hearing was that sitting at her home, Holly Bobo's phone could reach out and be picked up on at least, I think, 4 different towers. But notwithstanding that, they were able to come to the conclusion that Holly's phone did not leave the property until right around 8 o'clock.
Yeah, 8:11.
Yes,
8:11.
11. That sounds exactly right.
Okay. So just something that I thought was interesting is that I just wanted you guys to have the information. I took the interview, or testimony of one guy named Barnes that was a neighbor.
Yes,
Yeah.
I talked to him and his mom too.
He was in episode 1 of our podcast, by the way. Quite by accident.
Yes. So perfect. So, and in that testimony at trial, what I liked is that if you actually work backwards, so he said he was out putting, his tools in, and he thought he got outside around like 7:15 to start loading it up.
Yeah.
And then he hears like the scream or whatever. He asked his girlfriend, "Hey, did you hear that?" When she's getting, to come out with the kid and they're going to load up to go towards Parsons.
I thought he remembered estimating that scream at 7:45. Am I remembering that accurately?
Well, yes, but then Jennifer Nichols, not Jennifer Nichols, but then basically Jennifer Thompson, if she just would have shown this, which is, I want you to see something. She nails it with what she was attempting to do, and then she never comes back to it. And so I want you guys to see this, which is, it's interesting in the timeline because it's off of phone records. So here he's loading up his 7:15. He starts loading up the car or whatever. Based off of when he says that he called at 7:45 to his mother at the Fork Road middle of that intersection over there in Parsons, you have to work your way back because this is a proven timeline that he called his mom at 7:47 to alert her, like, "Hey, you know what? I heard that scream. Maybe you should get in touch with Karen." You know what I mean? Well, it's a 5-minute drive to get to that spot, which is 7:42 then. Okay. He said that he stayed in the driveway of the Bobos before pulling away.
5-minute drive from where to where?
To get from that, where he made this call at 7:47, the tower said that, and where he testified to was at the stoplight of the Fork intersection, 5 Forks, 5.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I have all of her call locations here.
Yeah. So this is.
I thought he was at home, but it's been a while since I watched his testimony.
He came into their. That's accurate. He came into their driveway.
Yeah. So Jennifer Thompson says, we have your phone records, and they indicate that you made the call to your mom at 7:47, and where you were located when you made that call. And he's like, "Yep, I remember. I was right at that intersection, and it was like Parsons, and it's a 5-minute drive to get to that point." Okay. So that's 7:42. Then that's right by the Bobos. He said, "I went into their driveway and waited there 2 to 3 minutes. I turned off the engine and tried to listen for something." So you have to subtract 2 or 3 minutes from then 7:42, which brings you to 7:39. Okay. And then you have to subtract at least a minute to get from his property, load up the kid, drive over to the Bobos, sit in that parking or sit at the end of the driveway to listen. And if you back all of that up, the only thing that I think that people should start looking at is this 7:42. Holly calls Drew, but it was, I think, it's a text message because it's an SMS. Is this had to have been after the screams? And I think that should be looked at, because if you do the math on, if you take everybody's account into consider it all, and you keep working your way backwards off of these phone records, I think that the timeline of when all of this is occurring and what people are saying, I think there's some issues in the beginning, and that's all. I just wanted to bring that because I was like, dude, I spent like all these hours. I was like, I have to get them this information because This is why.
Her last out. So I just sent you something. If you,
Okay, cool.
I sent you. It's all of her incoming, outgoing calls that morning. Now it doesn't include the text messages. It's just the calls, but it has all of them and the duration and the tower sectors. And her last outgoing call was at 7:42.
Yeah, 7:42. And if you were looking at that, do you see how it says SMS next to it?
Yeah.
Okay. So exactly that.
Where are you seeing that?
Well, that's like, so right here at 7:42.
But that's SMS. You mean text message, right?
Well, that's what I didn't know. So I gave it both. I said it could be I needed to get clarification on it. And so I took it from here and I just put that it could either have been a call or a text. But either way, this is her phone making the command. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So the SMS is a text message.
Yeah. So that's what I figured. That's why
that makes sense because that's 42. So she texted Drew at 7:42, and then she placed an outgoing call to her mom at the same time at 7:42. But her mom didn't answer that call.
So okay, so this is how I usually work with the phones. Is I say like this phone called that phone.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say?
Holly called her mom at 7:42.
Holly's phone called mom's phone.
Holly's phone.
The state's witnesses like to do this too.
Well, no. Well, I think it actually helps Zach Adams.
Oh, well, sometimes. None
of it hurts. I mean, all of it is. I think these questions are super interesting in terms of what happened to Holly, regardless of what happened to Holly.
What were they fighting about the night before? I have a question about that. You piqued my interest with that. What was the fight?
If he's talking to other girls, if she's talking to other guys, just being 20.
That's the first time I've ever heard that spoken anywhere about the night before. This is the first time since I've watched the case, knew about the case. It's 2026 now. Can't believe it. And you're the first person that's ever told me that the night before that there was a tiff. You're the first person.
I don't think it's ever been like.
I think Clint has said that. Well, for whatever reason, that morning, Clint was not surprised that they might have been in a quarrel. So,
but no one's ever dug into like. I think that this is just really powerful for Zachary Adams.
I think they argued a lot.
Yeah, I just think that's really powerful for Zachary Adams because I was looking at a couple different things with it, and the phone, where Holly's phone, it looks like it starts like. It looks like it's coming from the south to the north, actually.
Yep.
Did they ever show you that at first?
You mean Holly's phone after 8/11?
No, before.
Oh, it's not moving.
It was not moving before, but it was bad. So the place her house sits, it bounces between two sectors.
It bounces between like 4 or 5 towers. And one of them is remarkably far away.
Yeah. And so I thought it was crazy.
I mean, my best guess is that
it's the Darden Chesterfield and the Pleasant Caterville one.
That on one side of the house it picked, because the way those phones worked, it would try to find the strongest signal, but not jump around a lot. So my best guess is that if Holly was in the kitchen, she might have consistently been on one tower. If she was in the back of the house in another part, maybe she'd be on another. So, I mean, I think all of the phone analysis between Walker and Frizzell and Reeves conclusively was that Holly's phone, although it jumped around on 4 or 5 towers that day, including one that is rather far south, she never left her home until 8/11 when it started north and kept going north until it got to the scene of her remains.
Let me ask you a question. So has anybody looked at the phone and its patterns beginning, let's say, at 7 p.m. the night before?
Yes.
And so
I have personally.
Nobody could ever say that Holly's phone ever traveled more south between 7, let's just say 7 p.m. and 12 a.m.
You know what, if you're interested, if you're open to it, because I have learned a lot about cell phone
More
sectors and
Yeah.
geolocating through cell phones and 2G networks and all that. And while I am confident I know that data much better than anyone employed by the state of Tennessee,
Yeah, they're horrible.
I'm not an expert in it. And we can get, I am confident Johnny Walker would come on if we want to do if we want to come on sometime and do something specifically about all of the cell phone.
Yeah, I think
geolocating.
it's interesting. I think
I can bring Johnny Walker on. I think I'm confident to do it. And we could go through everyone's cell phone, Holly's, the defendants, Terry Britt, because I mean, he knows that data inside out, and I can get all of that organized in one spot.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting when I was looking at the ones when it's actually her phone making any of the commands. It's always using the southernmost points, but if it's ever an incoming, it's hitting on the more close to the house if it's an incoming. And she's AT&T, and back in the day, AT&T was always like, you need to go and stick with the outgoing command over an incoming command for the more accuracy of the location of the device.
Okay, hold on. I want to make it. You said the outgoing tends to be more
accurate
than the incoming.
Yes. And so what I did is I separated which ones were incoming and then the outgoing commands. And when I did that, I was blown away to see that, wow, that morning, everything that's done outgoing on the phone, it's all the southernmost stuff.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second.
That's what I just thought was interesting.
One of your listeners has Brittany Forrest 87 asked, so her phone went to the same spot where her remains were found, but it still took 3 years to find? Yes, that's exactly what happened. Within 30 minutes of her abduction, her phone came to rest within at where her remains were found 3.5 years later. Her phone stayed there for 30 minutes. Her phone went from her home due north to the shadow of a Verizon cell tower, where it stayed for 30 minutes, and then it went east, and then it went south. And if you follow that track, it draws an almost perfect circle around Terry Britt's home. I digress. The answer to the question was, her phone went straight to where her remains were found 3.5 years later. Yes, it did.
There's a lot of real weird stuff about that.
And John Walker, we took John Walker there for the first time. He had never been to the scene of the remains.
That episode was great.
He knew where they were going to find her, and they ran him off the case. They ran Dykus off the case. They ran Viveris off the case.
And then that's what I thought Doug Bates did a great job about showing that like everything was discarded after the fact, where it was like the paper trail of everything. And what I thought was even more like, I just couldn't believe it. Did you ever pay attention to the people that actually were the ones to find the items of stuff like the SIM card? You know how small a SIM card is?
Yep.
And tiny. How, like who it links back to, and the items and all the items that were found and who it all links back to. I just think that I was blown away because he did such a good job of talking about once you discard, like the items were discarded after the fact. It wasn't just like, it was after leaving the location where her body was found or her remains, right?
Yes.
And then
nothing was found on the route from her home to where the remains were. Nothing was found on the route from where her remains were to the end of the route. That's where her belongings are then discarded, and they're discarded consistently on the right side of the left side of the road to suggest he's tossing it out while he's driving
back, right?
Back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my working theory on this is that Holly's abductor marched her off the property with her book bag, her purse, everything she had on her person at the moment, put her in a vehicle, drove her directly to that cell phone tower, and marched her, dragged her, forced her into the woods where her remains were found. She was murdered there within the hour, within 30 minutes. Within the hour of her abduction and within 30 minutes of her arrival, and that she was left there with whatever had gotten into the woods, and her abductor returned to the vehicle in the parking lot at the Verizon cell tower and drove away hastily and realized, shit, there's things that belong to her in here. I can't have that, and started flinging them out the window all the way back to to where her phone goes dead at Gooch Creek at 9:25. No other scenario makes any sense to me.
Unless she was killed earlier, and then everything that you're just talking about is the disposal
I
route.
think she was killed where her remains were found. Personally,
Okay.
I nothing. I mean, when you look at this evidence, it leaves any number of theoretical possibilities. You know, was she killed on her own property and carried off? Maybe. Doubtful. I don't think so. When you look at all of the evidence and you ask yourself, what's the most likely explanation here? The most likely explanation here is that she was taken at gunpoint from her home at 8/11, driven straight to where her remains were later found, executed at that location, and then her abductor returned to his vehicle and realized that he now had evidence that connected him to her and drove away hastily, flung it out the window on the way, then finally realized he still had a live phone with him and disassembled it, took the SIM card out, took the battery off, and discarded that later as part of the ongoing cover-up. That is, no matter how late I lay awake and no matter how many times I run this thing in my head, I cannot punch any holes in that theory.
Can I say the two things that throw me off the most about this? Not the most, there's a ton, but two things that come to mind right now that throw me off. The ring, I can't stop thinking about the ring. I'm going to talk about the ring. Her promise ring was found with all of her personal belongings, her personal effects, and the skeletal partial remains. The skeletal remains that were found were 6 partial ribs, part of a sternum, part of a scapula, and the skull and mandible and teeth. No limbs, no phalange, nothing. When you die and you go, I mean, your body expands. It doesn't, I mean, it expands after death. That's what we would expect. So a ring on your finger is likely going to be tight on your finger. It's not going to just like fall off randomly. Their reasoning, their explanation for the rest of the remains not being there were animal scavenging.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So did an animal scavenge her limbs and then come back and return the ring at the location? It makes no sense why her ring is there, and it keeps me up at night. The remains site.
I completely, totally agree with what you just said right there. Gave me chills that I had to move only based off of what I just was like working on for the past 2 weeks. And that right there, like I totally forgot about that piece. You are 1000% correct. And that piece was what again? The ring, right?
The promise ring is found there with her other personal effects and her partial remains. It makes no sense.
It should have been in your purse, right? It shouldn't have been in your purse. It would have been on your finger, right?
If you're in a fight with your boyfriend,
she wore it consistently.
She wore it consistently, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to take a promise ring from your boyfriend off and put it in your purse and lose it.
The problem with any of that is.
But can I say the other thing? Because it factors into this. How did her purse get there? Because Clint didn't see her carrying a lunch bag or a purse or a bunch of books. And she had been injured in the garage. Clint very clearly saw the assailant holding her with one arm, walking around. Now, the story kind of changed over years and intense investigation, interrogations over and over again. I think the first story is I'm going to go to the first story because that's
all I hear about.
The day of, the first thing Clint said at the time was that the assailant was holding her to guide her out and had a black object about 7 inches or so in his other hand. Nothing. So he's not holding stuff, and that Holly is walking and not holding things. And she would have been, I mean, there was enough blood there. She would have been injured. So how does her book bag, all of her books, her lunch bag, all of this stuff end up when it wasn't on her person there?
Well, the fact that he didn't mention it doesn't mean it wasn't on her. I suspect Holly.
It does actually. He was specifically asked. If you go, and it's not, if you go in the day of records where the cops are writing, he was specific about that.
Okay,
she did not have those.
He didn't say exactly everything. But we know for sure that her shit got to the cell tower, and we know for sure that her shit got thrown out of a car leaving from there. I suspect what happened was Holly went out in the garage ready to go to school with her stuff, and her kidnapper knew. I think her kidnapper thought he was going to have 6 hours of head start on anyone realizing she was gone, or at least sometime, certainly not immediately. And to do that, you would need to make sure that none of her shit got left in the garage where you took her. So
But
whether
how?
Holly was, well, I think the abductor here was a sophisticated, experienced abductor
Absolutely.
who knew that
How
if
to
you're
control
going to get a
victims.
head start, you can't leave a crime scene. Now that got fucked up with the blood puddle. I'll admit that for sure, but it makes sense to me that Holly would have had her purse and her bag on her person, even if Clint didn't notice, because he didn't notice a lot of things. And then all of her stuff gets in the vehicle with the abductor, whether the abductor made sure or it was just on her and the abductor didn't take it from her. And it winds up, some of it in the car and some of it at the crime scene, at the scene of her remains. I mean, the problem that I have with why is the promise ring there and these other questions is that requires the intervention of third parties, not the abductor and not Holly, in a way that starts to
That doesn't make
suggest.
sense.
Can I ask
Well,
you guys a question?
yeah.
What would you say what if something horrible happened by accident in the carport area? If somebody is to push somebody and then they accidentally trip, fall, they twist in a way that they hit their head and it break their neck, something happens and you panic. But then if something by accident would have happened and then there would be after the fact a cover up. Because
That would require a huge the thing, frankly, that would require to me a huge, same as the whole theory with Zach Adams, that would require a huge coincidence where a young woman who was being stalked by a serial convicted kidnapping rapist who has been kidnapping young blonde women, dragging them out in the woods and torturing and raping them since the 70s, was definitely stalking her and her cousin for months preceding this, and has an MO that exactly matches this crime, and that some bad thing just happened to happen to her that looks very much like Terry Britt kidnapped her at the same time Terry Britt was stalking her, and he had nothing to do with it, but he just coincidentally made up an alibi and had her hair in his van and had a cadaver in his van.
he had his hair. Her hair is in his van.
well, hold on.
He had a microscopic match for her hair attached to a piece of duct tape on a piece of rope in the van that FBI trained cadaver dogs hit on, along with tools in a locked shed. A microscopic match to her hair. There's about a 1 in 100,000 chance that was not her hair, at least. They did a mitochondrial DNA test on it, which has a 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 chance of a false negative. It's inclusive, not exclusive. The fact that it's not a match means nothing other than you are a 1 in, you drew the short straw, 1 in 4. So they had, and in here, it's the behavior of people to me kind of matters more than even everything else. Like Doug and I would have these conversations. Well, maybe Nichols didn't know. And it's like, we don't even have to be there to have, we don't have to get in her head. We know she knew, we know she's guilty because how she's acting right now. Because if she wasn't guilty, she wouldn't be acting this way, allegedly.
The reason that I do not spend a lot of time wondering if this was an accident turned cover up by someone who did not mean to harm her or didn't mean to harm her this way is that that would be for someone to have woken up that morning or been there that night or whatever and have accidentally hurt or killed Holly Bobo and then scrambled to cover it up. I think it would be remarkable for them to have covered it up like this with no advanced planning. Everything about this abduction or this disappearance and this death suggests to me that a very sophisticated and experienced wrongdoer is the reason Holly Bobo was abducted and dead.
The crime has elements of sophistication and some elements of impulsivity with it.
But
and
it just
there. We've talked about that.
I mean the
Friday
phone
situation.
calls, the things that are here's when you think about this case. Here's the thing. There's all of the immutable scientific evidence that cannot be modified or manipulated after the fact.
Okay. But Dana, you interrupted me, so don't even get mad that I'm interrupting you because I'm getting back to finishing my point, and then we'll just get over it because we do that a lot to each other. People always comment, they're like, "Stop interrupting him," but no one ever tells Dana to stop interrupting me. What's that about? We both do it. I guess so. They had
Britt. They had Britt. Why wouldn't he said he would take the plea. He'll give me 20 years. I'll do whatever. So my question is why didn't they just do this? They had the opportunity.
Not what he asked for.
I thought he wanted 20.
Well,
and what did he get? So what did Britt get after he supposedly confessed to Johnny Walker and said, "I'll take under 20 years in a prison for older adults, and I don't want Janet to get charged." Then lo and behold, Terry Britt goes to prison for less than 20 years at a prison that has predominantly older guys, older prisoners, and Janet's not charged. And suddenly they know where her body is.
Well, I'll go back a little further than that. That's
hold on, but let me finish the point on the hair though, because it's relevant.
Hair. Yes.
Microscopic hair match. It was not a mitochondrial DNA match. They have in evidence still, unless they destroyed it along with other evidence that was exonerating to Zach and very inconvenient for Terry Britt, a hair follicle suitable for nucleic DNA testing. The issue, what the state did with the jury is, I think, completely manipulative. When we hear DNA, we think like that trumps everything. DNA is the best. So if it's a microscopic match, but it's not a DNA match, it means that it's not a match. Well, when we say that, we're talking about nucleic DNA testing. Mitochondrial DNA testing is not the same thing, especially in hair because of the high mutation rate. So they confused the jury by suggesting that it was not a DNA match, assuming the jury would think that that means that the DNA we think of as inclusive and exclusive nucleic DNA testing. They had a hair follicle suitable for nucleic DNA testing in evidence from the same van where they got the hair, which I don't have rope and duct tape in my
rope and duct tape. Yeah.
Doug is still mad at me because I was driving around with shovels and a metal detector in my car, and he thought I was like, but anyway. So why didn't they test it? Why didn't they test the nucleic DNA sample they had suitable for DNA testing?
Well, Terry Dicus rather explained that he told him to hold off because he wanted to get his case tighter before they did the one destructive opportunity that they would have had.
FBI recommended to Terry Dicus that they wait as long as possible to run it because the technology was improving so much at that time.
Right. And by the time
FBI,
Dicus got put off the case, and Britt became not a suspect by the orders of superiors. So hopefully it's still there to be tested.
To supposedly run it, and then they never ran it.
That's the answer.
They kicked Dicus off the case, and they never ran it.
And then Britt didn't have his phone on that morning, right? Or his phone has no activity until 9:35.
Well, okay, so
like that.
Let's go back to why they didn't charge Britt. Okay,
that's
to begin with, right? The reason,
like, make it simple and like nobody has to like do anything. You get what I'm trying to say?
Easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In 2008, Terry Britt and his wife were involved in the abduction and attempted sexual assault of a woman named Tequila Jones. At the moment in time that victim was supposed to come and testify and advance the case against Terry Britt, she was in jail near down the road, and she was not brought to court, and the case got dismissed. Years later, when Holly Bobo disappeared and Art
not brought to court by the same DNA that didn't charge Jack Fowler, we can get back to that.
So she was not brought to court. The case got dismissed. Years later, when Holly Bobo was abducted, Art Viveros, looking into all the possible suspects, noticed that this case had been dismissed and asked, why was this dismissed? Terry Britt was then confronted with the case and he pled guilty. So
accepted a plea deal that happened to be the exact same plea deal he said he would accept for Holly.
So if the state of Tennessee had prosecuted Terry Britt properly for the Tequila Jones case in a timely fashion, he would not have been on the street the day Holly Bobo was abducted. That would have been career-ending and embarrassing for many law enforcement officers and prosecutors.
And in 2007, Terry Britt killed a guy and stole his gun, and it was reported to the Decatur County Sheriff, and the sheriff didn't do anything about it.
Hold on.
And that's probably the murder weapon.
Was he a CI? I think.
He hates it. I don't know why. Big deal.
Hold on.
Allegedly, but it's not alleged. On the record.
This is the alleged podcast.
There is what Katie just said is
not in the records because the sheriff then, a week after Zach was arrested, had the Decatur County Sheriff's computers cleared and then lied about it.
Okay. Look, what we know is that Terry Britt had an association with a man who wound up dead and a gun went missing.
Mm-hmm.
That is what
he was the last one to see this guy and was alone in his house.
If we're in the business of getting this right, then let's get it right. So what we know is that Terry Britt later pled guilty to the abduction of Tequila Jones and should have been in prison the day Holly Bobo was abducted.
Correct.
And was not. So
and that's a huge
draw your own conclusions.
So if you're trying to cover your own ass, I always look at the money angle because no town, no city wants to pay out millions upon millions of dollars for a potential wrongful death suit that they could sue. Like if you would have done your job with that, could they have gone that route? I mean, I don't know.
I think it's also, this may feed into why the Bobo family might have been willing to embrace an alternative theory, because it seems so senseless and preventable if it's Terry Britt, right? Like if it's Terry Britt, then you're sitting in the room with people who've come to tell you it's Terry Britt and we should have had him in prison and we didn't.
And then that leads to the question of, why is this person still out and still acting as a confidential informant when he was having sex with a sheriff of Henderson County who then goes to prison federally for raping 168 inmates while Terry Britt is luring victims for him to rape and then informing on it, and then he gets out of prison the next week? It leads to a lot of questions that I think local law enforcement departments don't want to answer.
Yeah. Yep. I mean,
a lot of questions.
I just think, wow, is this not reasonable doubt for Zach? I mean, back in the day, like trying this, and like when you go back and watch it, like I'm going to do with my show here, we're going to play the trial from Jump. I had a hard time going back and watching some of this stuff. I felt so bad they totally messed with Jennifer Thompson. Like
they were cruel to her. They were disgusting. They were awful.
It was so freaking awful. I mean, she basically was like, I want to go ahead and try to impeach him. I'm going to try, like, for a lawyer to, like, come on, she knows, she felt scared to do and say anything. That is not how somebody should ever be represented. And it's just blood boiling. It's just crazy. But I just think the time of the crime is way earlier, and it just way even more helps Zachary Adams. Is that just my opinion? And I think that it's in the testimony of the people that testified, as well as in the putting of the calls. I think that there was a nice little narrative that was pumped out, but if you take away that narrative and you look at those phone records a little bit closely, there's some issues there. There's definitely so many issues.
I think Lana, what you just said, the reasonable doubt thing, that's what I keep having to remind myself, because it's like, is there reasonable doubt that Zach Adams is innocent? I don't think so. I think there's enough of the records with the cell phone data and the other corroborating pieces of evidence that it is physically impossible for Zach to have done this.
Yeah.
I think that there's not reasonable doubt that he's innocent, but people can have reasonable doubt. People can not know the data as detailed. They can interpret it differently, whatever. But the standard isn't reasonable doubt of innocence. It's that there's reasonable doubt of guilt. And to me, we're just so far from that with the questions we're asking.
Yeah. I like to flip it on its reverse side. Here, how about this? Hey, how would you prosecution? Here, if that was you were a defense attorney, defend Zach Adams. Let me see. Let me flip it here. How would you go about it? And when you would say that to them, nobody would ever answer that question. It's like, why? Because once you start talking about it, then you're like, oh yeah, then I would do this and I would do this. And I was like, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's flip it, and I'll do it with you. I'll go and I would say this is how I would prosecute. Let's flip it. How would you defend him? And when you do that, if somebody cannot look back as a lawyer that took the oath to uphold everything that they morally believe in, and they said that they would, there is no way that you would ever prosecute Zachary Adams, let alone attempt for somebody to say he's guilty or not. You would never prosecute him. You know what I mean?
It does not make sense. And it does, but it in a disturbing way.
But I liked what Dana said. He's like, you're going to have to tell the family, hey, this is who did it, but they should have never been on the streets to do it. And no way is Tennessee ever going to give you that. Does that make sense? That's the most motivating thing for me to see why they didn't do it.
Which I think is both simultaneously a cover the TBI and law enforcement and prosecutors' ass move, but it's also, I mean, imagine knowing that your daughter has been kidnapped and murdered and potentially sexually assaulted as well. Imagine knowing that. And then you have to deal also with the grief that it was entirely preventable because a violent sex offender with multiple convictions for exactly this should have been but wasn't in prison. The senselessness of that, to me, seems like it exceeds the senselessness of some random meth addicts snatching your daughter in a way that no one could have stopped or seen coming. So when you're sitting there in the Bobo's home wondering, are they willing to hear an alternative to Terry Britt should have been in prison and wasn't because the very people who are here helping us fucked this all up? I think that would be maybe not consciously on your mind, but I think it would lend itself to being willing to embrace this random act of violence instead of this foreseeable act of violence. I don't know.
Well, I just think that the family would then start blaming. I mean, then you're going to go after Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? Like that, they're ultimately responsible for your daughter's death.
Well, I think it would have been career ending. I mean, I'm not sure that any given individual agent is not going to lose a dime, and even in that lawsuit, they're going to have the state's going to defend them. There's caps. There's all kinds of. I mean, you could argue about losing immunity, whatever you want to talk about. That's fine. The law enforcement agents were trying to keep their pensions and their careers intact.
Yeah, 1,000.
I'm not sure that any of them thought we better save the taxpayers some money here.
No, they were looking at themselves. Like yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's all. I tell so many people, I'm like, man, if you don't think that these people, you know what a Walmart worker does to try to keep his damn job? Just think about it.
I mean, look at
it the same way.
And part of the reason that I think this is potentially the explanation is Dicus and Viveros and Walker are essentially ordered, do not keep talking about Britt. Okay. They are then put out of the investigation. Now, when that powerful person went into the room and said, who wants to lead this investigation now? And do you understand where we're going? Do you think anyone said, I don't know, I kind of like that Terry Dicus theory. I thought I'd keep working on that. No. Everybody that was then promoted and kept on this investigation now has their pension.
Yep, they do.
Including some of them with an Agent of the Year award.
I can't believe. Yep.
Someone in the chat.
They get rewarded. Like it gets rewarded, and everybody's like, yeah, and everybody's to have their backs, and like that's what I saw in this past year.
And awarded.
Yeah, I'm like, holy shit! And then that closing by, holy shit! I cannot believe. How does that woman sleep? How does she sleep at night?
I think you have to know.
Deception.
You have to know that you've done something wrong for it to bother you.
It's interesting what someone in the chat said. Someone needs to adjust her meds. I don't know if they're talking about me or not. There's actually not any meds that are going to fix this.
Who needs to adjust meds?
Dana has to deal with it.
They probably mean Jennifer.
Meds would just make me worse.
So where do you see this headed? Like, I I don't know if you're allowed to talk about, cut me off if I can't ask certain things, but you guys have brought it home to like this point that you've exposed this whole fuckerage of corruption. Okay, like, dude, Jennifer was orchestrating allegedly. Here, this is what you're going to testify to. Here's what you're going to say. Here, this is how the day played out. Are you kidding me? This is prosecutorial misconduct to the utmost. All these motherfuckers need to burn. If not, not by the stake, but I'm just talking about, dude, they should go to prison, right? Like, this is crazy.
Right?
I
keep asking. That's the question I have for
That's
Dana.
what I want to
how
see.
do we get them all in prison?
Yes,
And I don't know if I can ask that or not. Dana and I may or may not have just had a behind the scenes texting conversation where he told me to stop committing things that will make him have to defend me on a defamation suit. And I said that he should be just cranky, and we both agreed to that. So I'm not going to say anything, Dana.
So
how do we get Jennifer Nichols in prison?
Well, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I don't waste a lot of time thinking about it. I want to me, this case does not fit neatly into any silo of explanation. Yeah. To me, this case is the combination, the perfect storm, if you will, of cowardice, incompetence, and corruption.
Yep.
There were, in my opinion, corrupt people in this case 100%. Who had influence and power to steer it in the wrong way. But I think there were also completely incompetent people who may or may not have ever pondered, is there some nefarious, motive at work here? And then I think there were cowardly people who knew very well that this was going badly, but who didn't say anything. And I think and I'm not going to attach names to each of those theories.
They know who they are.
If you watch the PCR testimony in its entirety, I think you can see there are people who were absolutely committed to a corrupt process, and they knew it. I think there are people who came to court and testified in a way that reveals that they never should have been elevated to the position they were in if they can't do any better than that. And I think you can see people who came in and said, gigs up, I'm on the stand under oath. Maybe I've never been in this position to testify under oath in this case. I'm going to tell the truth as I know it. So I think when you wonder how did we get here, it couldn't be just everyone is corrupt. That requires too much coordination and secrecy and commitment, right?
Plus, you don't tell people stuff. Like, if I would never think about if you were going to commit something, the less that know about it, and then we just, oh, hey, you got to go do that. And
right. That's part of the reason. I don't want to circle back to it, but that's part of the reason that I have a hard time with any theory that requires some messing around with the crime scene or after the fact delivery of the. But I don't want to go back to that. I just want to say that's part of I can live with the potentially bizarre explanation that an animal didn't drag the ring away, whatever. But when you start talking about conspiracies to commit all of the things that would have had to have been organized by one person or by a small group of people, it just starts to fall apart for me. So it's, to me, you can say, does any single thing in this case require more than cowardice, incompetence, and corruption? No. Can we always know which one it is? Probably not. Are we sure when we see it? Sometimes, yes. Now, where does this case go now?
Yeah, how do you feel? Like, I got really good vibes from the judge. I've watched
towards the end.
Hey, Docket Decoder's in the chat. Shout out to Docket Decoder. You should follow his channel too. He's covering this case as well, and some great
good
stuff.
Peeps here.
Yes. So I think, to me, and Katie and I, listen, if it's not obvious by now, Dr. Spirko and I spend a lot of time arguing.
Tell us about what happened outside the courtroom, or are we not talking about that?
So,
otherwise you don't have an opinion. I feel like people that don't argue, that means like you're just a yes man or a yes woman, and I'm just not. Like, that just doesn't vibe for me.
Well, I mean, look, I like to work with Dr. Spirko because she brings it, right? Like, and there have been many times that I'm like, I don't think so, and then I later think, well, maybe she was right about that.
And vice versa. I will, behind closed doors, frequently. You can frequently admit I'm wrong. I have done it to you, maybe Doug.
Yeah. So
Doug,
I would say
Dana, Crystal, and I think work really well together because iron sharpens iron, or whatever the saying is.
That's awesome.
Dr. Spirko has, I think, a different expectation, or maybe it's a hope. I think the judge. So right now, the evidence is closed, the case is closed, the proof is gone, the proof is over. Judge Bradbury has this case now under advisement, and
60 days, well, 50 days.
He's got
60
90
could
days.
be 90 though, because he can extend it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it went past that, because everything in this case has. There's nothing here has happened on the timeline, and so it just is what it is. But I hope we get an opinion here in, when it's still cold, maybe late winter, early spring, but we'll see. I personally think his opinion is going to be that because he can only do two things here.
Yeah.
Only two things. He can either say, good try, your conviction stands, or he can say, there are problems here that rise to the level of constitutional problems, and you've proved it by clear and convincing evidence, and I am therefore vacating the conviction. That's it. Vacating the conviction means, for all practical purposes, it's Zach sitting in jail with the same indictments he ever had, and it's up to the state to decide what to do next. So I personally think he is likely to vacate the convictions, and I think he is likely to vacate the convictions on the grounds of ineffective assistance of counsel and on the grounds of prosecutorial misconduct, because I do think that those two things are so inextricably bound here. I think that the prosecutorial misconduct begat a good deal of the ineffective assistance of counsel, but that the ineffective assistance of counsel, I mean, it's easy for me to say this after the fact. I think some of the proof that there was ineffective assistance of counsel here is that the prosecutorial misconduct was not overcome nonetheless. So I think it's going to be both, and I think it's going to be a stinging rebuke of the prosecution in this case. I
think the prosecutorial misconduct is some fucking bullshit, and I don't even think the ineffective assistance of counsel is relevant when you look at the degree of prosecutorial misconduct. I think it's disgusting that this happens in our system, and I think we should all be terrified.
Yeah.
And if you live in Sumner County, May 5th, get out to the ballots and vote for Michael Begley, because he's running against Jennifer Nichols. Get that bitch out of office.
Get the fuck out of here, man. You know what? You just motivated me. I'm going to go down there and make t-shirts. We're going to put her fucking face on that fucking little, we're going to do Ariel. We're going to do it all. I am
down for anything.
You have no idea what type of advocacy I believe in.
I told Doug when I got on. Here's another thing that when I told Doug,
thank you guys. No, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to always start like a nonprofit that help people, their families navigate who've ever been wrongfully accused, convicted. And I try to do a case in Pennsylvania here, and I think it's gonna work out for this young gentleman, black kid. But you guys, just thank you so much, because without you doing what you've done, I'm telling you, it wouldn't be where it's at. And same thing with Mr. Doug.
No. Hold on.
Zach is the minority here, being white. The system is racist as hell too. So
there are many people who have. There are many people who have lent support to Zach, and all of them have been helpful and important. However, if there are none of us who are not replaceable except Katie. If you take
That's
Katie
not true
out,
at all.
If you take Katie out of this story, it doesn't happen. You could find
less interesting. It's more boring.
You could find potentially someone who would have done a job comparable to what Doug has done. You could probably easily find another podcast
his
co-host.
passion was pretty good.
Doug,
His passion
I'm
in
not knocking Doug.
His closing made me cry.
I'm not knocking Doug.
I'm not a crier.
When he finished the closing, I went up to him and said, "Which wall you want me to run through?" So I was like, he's done an extraordinary job here. However,
you could tell he believes in it, though. You know what I mean? Like I think he probably left out of that courtroom and was just like, I know that he left everything out on the court. I'm an athlete. There was nothing more that I think that man could have done. He did everything for Zachary Adams. There's no doubt about it. And I just hope to God that judge sees his conviction and how positive he believes in this. And then obviously the mountains of what he presented. But come on, people don't just, nobody gets behind stuff like this when it's, I'm not going to go.
Well,
I'm not gonna go beat him.
I said to Doug that what made him the perfect lawyer for this was something I spoke of earlier, which is Doug has what I call generational honor. He comes from a long line of people who stood up for something that was unpopular, despicably unpopular in the case of his grandfather defending Nazis at Nuremberg. His own father resigned a position publicly and loudly. That story, if you didn't know, that he told during closing was about his father resigning and publishing his resignation letter, accusing a judge of being corrupt.
Who was in the court watching that closing?
Yeah, his dad was in the courtroom.
I didn't know that.
That story about the DA who resigned was about Doug's dad.
Well, that makes sense.
And the lawyer and that DA's son who became a lawyer, that was Doug. So Doug
you read it, right?
Yeah, so Doug has what he was uniquely qualified for this job because he came, and I said this to him, and I meant it. Before he went and did his closing, I said, "Time to go earn your name, son.
Yeah.
Time to go get it."
Heck yeah, man. When he said that he only does divorces, when I heard that,
I'm gonna go self-deprecating.
I'm gonna go back to divorcing
Doug
people.
Loves to
Like,
just, I'm just I don't know. Doug is Doug knows his shit, and he likes to.
Hell yeah.
He does like to play
not
up
his
the
first
country.
criminal case, but he does primarily do divorces.
Yeah, I was like, can you imagine going up against him and a friggin' family?
Right?
Sayonara.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's just. I think you guys have a great balance. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, hey, if you ever need a researcher, I would love to do whatever I can for your innocent client. That's all I have to say.
Don't say it if you don't mean it, because
I'm not. I mean it. Trust me.
We just became best friends right before
I know.
this,
He's talking
and
about the
now
whole thing,
you're doing research.
Yeah.
I have to say something in all seriousness though, because I like the reason. I think this is really important from a cultural systemic standpoint. The reason that I can get out here and not commit defamation, but like walk the line a little bit,
which we're allowed to.
The reason why I'm comfortable exercising my First Amendment rights and I'm comfortable speaking truth to power is because I am in a privileged position where I know a lot of attorneys. I know a lot of judges. I have a scary criminal defense attorney who's podcast co-hosting with me, and I know is going to get me out of whatever pickle I get myself into. And there are a lot of people who believe very much in doing the right thing and want to do the right thing and are working to do the right thing. And I'm not braver than them. I just have a lawyer who's not going to like bill me hourly for getting me out of prison if something happens.
Oh, but she's going to listen to a lot of I told you so.
Don't sell yourself short. Come on.
But I think there's something to be said for that, because
Dana's got his hands
so
full.
much how many people local to Decatur County and the surrounding counties feel every bit as impassioned, if not more so than I have, and have frankly sacrificed a lot more for this case than I ever have, because they don't have those protections, those systemic protections that I can rely on to reduce my exposure. And that is what keeps me in this and makes me so angry, is how many people are just being taken advantage of because they can't afford a lawyer to come when they get bulldozed and bullied and taken advantage of.
It's so true.
Everybody had a reason to be here, and when I started to see what happened here, I had this dilemma.
People are scared, and it's true. People are terrified in that county. In those counties, they're terrified of law enforcement. They're terrified of these systems that are keeping them down so they can make money off of illegal drug sales and not be held accountable, allegedly.
So, as I watched and learned what had happened in this case. I've been a lawyer for 33 years, and I
I thought you
wasn't.
were 33. Oh
You
my
thought
God.
you thought I was 33 years old? Yeah, right. Thank you.
He has a good
Right.
skincare regimen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
I have Katie knows how to use filters, is what it is.
I filter Dana on our pictures. Me
So-
too, but I tell him I filter him more. It's actually pretty even, but
So,
Is that a sleeve?
Yeah.
Yes, show him your sleeves.
Look at this badass. This is the type of lawyer I want. Motherfucking sleeves
Right?
tatted up. Jesus.
I got deposed a while back, and he's representing me, and he was gonna show up in this like custom suit. I was like, no, motherfucker, you come in a t-shirt, like you underdressed to be disrespectful, and you have those sleeves hanging out, and he did, and it was amazing.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead. You're so hard. And I'm like, oh my God, is that a sleeve?
yeah. So I knew there was a moment where I knew I could not look away, and I knew what it was going to mean. I knew I was burning a lot of, bridges. I knew I was exiling myself from certain courtrooms. But what I knew too was that 32 years ago, my very first jury trial, I was a second chair on it. I was a baby lawyer. And my client was a guy my age. He was 26 or so at the time. And he got absolutely wrecked by the state. And I couldn't stop it. There was nothing I could do. The detective should have stopped the prosecution. He didn't. The DA should have declined to prosecute. He didn't. The judge should have dismissed the charges. He didn't. The jury should have found my client not guilty. They didn't. He went to prison. And the night that he got convicted, I came home and I sobbed. And I thought, I'm done. I can't participate in a system like this anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'd spent, 3 years in law school and a year or two becoming, a lawyer and, like practicing law. And somehow, I didn't quit. And when I got immersed in this Zach case, I was like, I couldn't stop it then, but I can't not try now.
Yeah.
So,
whatever happened to your client, if you know?
He spent 2.5 years at Riverbend, and then the Court of Criminal Appeals wrote an opinion that said, oh, by the way, when that young lawyer stood up and told the trial judge that he should dismiss the case because there was a case that said he should dismiss it, he was right. There was another problem with the case as well, but
so he got overturned?
It got reversed, and he was released from Riverbend after 2.5 or 3 years.
Good man.
Well, I mean, turned out better for him so far. Yeah, it turned out better for him than Zach.
Well, definitely, because it's already 2.5 years. It's been longer than that. Zach was in solitary for like 9 years. When I went and interviewed Zach,
what?
Yeah. When I interviewed Zach in the end of 2023, he had just gotten off like a month before that.
That's just, oh my God. That's actually considered cruel and unusual punishment? I thought, like, what's torture?
They
like,
said it was for his own safety because of the high
what they always
nature of the
use.
case, even though the prisons can do whatever they want if they say it's for security.
He needs to be in solitary for security. What is he going to do? You know what also upset me is to see him having to be in his type of restraints. He couldn't be unbelted to be able to do the hearing. Come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with a jury verdict, is that the jury verdict reverses the presumption, and you are now presumed guilty.
You are,
and so they treat you
guilty man fighting.
Yep, you don't get street clothes. You don't get to sit next to your lawyer and write notes on a nope. You get shackled and you get dragged around.
How is I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this question. Are you in contact with Zach? How's his spirits?
He's good. He's feeling great. He said that he could tell immediately when he went back to prison that the podcast and the other, like the YouTube channels, were taking off, and it was getting attention because the guards and the prison staff and the people are treating him differently.
Oh, that is freaking awesome to hear that.
He is incredibly grateful. incredibly grateful. And that is, the number one personality characteristic of a rapist is entitlement. Zach, frankly, is one of the least entitled clients I've ever worked for. He's incredibly thankful and grateful. Everyone that has liked, shared, posted, commented, the Adams family is incredibly grateful. Anyone who's thinks he's guilty but is willing to look into it and educate yourself, as opposed to, they're grateful for it. They have no qualms with asking, like, challenge it, ask questions, look into the facts. Like, when I started working with them, my conditions to work with somebody is, you give me all the data, give me everything, give me access to everything, and no secrets. I want to know it all and get all up in your business. They have
don't lie to me.
Done anything but make themselves available, make the information available. They want to get to the truth. And so, but he's in great spirits right now, and he's feeling incredibly hopeful and grateful.
That's fucking awesome. I mean, so how about this? If it's vacated, what do you see Tennessee doing? Charging him again?
I think they're going to appeal it, and something's going to happen that I can't talk about yet. And then I don't think they're going to try him because
Katie is God.
I don't think they're going to try him because they don't have any evidence or witnesses. So I don't know what they would do to try him.
You will not be surprised to learn that I have a different opinion.
Okay. I'm totally shocked.
Yeah,
Both guys going to come back.
This is my shocked face. I think what will happen is, assuming that Judge Bradbury grants the petition and that the Court of Criminal Appeals upholds it, and then that the Tennessee Supreme Court rejects any request for permission to appeal and
now,
sends
will he have
it
to
back.
stay in prison while all that's happening? Like, once it's vacated, what will happen to Zach? Does he have to wait it out in prison?
Realistic. Well, it's a capital
Technically,
offense.
shouldn't he go back to jail since it's pre?
Yeah, they should. If Judge Bradbury vacates the conviction, they should probably return him to the local
county
custody. Yeah, where he will be in exactly the position he was in the day before this case went to trial.
Can he get bail, you think, or no?
Well, it's a capital case, so they don't have to offer him bail. And the unfortunate thing is that in the meantime, the bail statute has become much more onerous for defendants because, unlike the bail statute at the time of the trial to begin with, now the bail statute requires the judge to consider the safety of the community as a factor in setting bail or not. And as a capital offense, they don't have to set bail in this matter. I think the practical matter is that it might, even if a judge picked a number, it might be a difficult number to raise, but all that's out there in the future.
We got some crowdsourcing availabilities over here. We can.
We're gonna need to do some crowdsourcing to get some DNA testing done for Dylan.
So
that's on my to-do list.
If there were, I would say that if there were if there were resources gathered that the first and best use, as tempting as it is, might not be to bond Zach out. But I digress. I think that if and when the state of Tennessee is back in a position where their only options are dismiss the case, try the case, or offer a plea bargain, and that's we're talking about realistically 2027. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably. I think that if the state of Tennessee is ever put in a position where they can either dismiss the case, offer a plea bargain, or try the case, a great deal of what will happen then will depend upon which DAs have been assigned to it. I think there is a chance, maybe even a likelihood, that the Memphis DA's office will be removed from this case, depending upon what Bradbury has to say about it.
Okay.
I think that if a DA's office that is handed this case has no political loyalty or affiliation to anyone who has previously been involved in it, I think they might very well conclude that it's an unwinnable case and that they cannot in good conscience take it back to trial, because in my opinion, at this point, the state of Tennessee's two critical, irreplaceable witnesses are so thoroughly discredited that you could never put them on the stand again. If you take Jason Autry and Victor Densmore out of the original trial, it's winnable. If you put those two men back on the stand now, they get destroyed. And
they wouldn't do it anyway. Neither Victor Dinsmore nor Jason Autry would ever get back on the stand.
Even if you could magically make them, they are so tainted by what's happened, by what's been learned since, that I think the state of Tennessee, given the chance, given a different prosecutor, might say, we can't win this case and we're going to let it go. But I think before that happens, they would probably come to Zach with a plea bargain. Something like time served for some offense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to try to offer him an Alford plea, and he's going to.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you about an Alford plea.
He'll never take it. He will. Never.
I don't think he's going to take a plea deal.
He will never take it. I promise you, he will never take it.
He didn't take it then. Why would he take it now?
He won't.
Whether he took it or not, if the state of Tennessee is ever, if it's the same prosecutors, and maybe if it's not, I think there's a chance that they would rather try this case and lose it, knowing they're going to lose it, than have a press conference and announce that they cannot even begin to try it.
I could see that. And also
because if they lose a jury trial, they can walk out of the courthouse and say, we respect the jury's verdict, rather than hold a press conference and say, holy shit, Doug Bates and that damn podcast really exposed our shit, didn't they? We're going to have to let this one go after all.
Power of the podcast.
That would be embarrassing for any prosecutor that got handed this. Now, you can ask yourself, which prosecutor is going to let this stinking pile of shit be handed to him at this point? But I happen to know a few that won't let go of it if they don't have to. So I think it's entirely possible that there is a retrial, but maybe not the most likely outcome.
I think they're going to desperately try to get an Alford plea because I think it'll lower their culpability for future civil.
For sure. There's no listen.
Zach will never ever do it.
If it gets remanded for further proceedings in the trial court, meaning the conviction is vacated and the matter is eventually, after all the appeals, sent back to the Hardin County Courthouse, there is no question in my mind that any prosecutor handling this case, including Amy Wyrick, will offer a plea bargain. Number one, we've seen her do that when her shit gets exposed. She has cleaned up her own messes with after the fact plea bargains after the Tennessee Supreme Court has said, you got this one all wrong.
By cleaning up your mess, you mean smearing the shit around and just getting it everywhere.
Something like that.
Rolling around her own
But I also think that the only face-saving way out of this case, the only face-saving way out of this mess for the state of Tennessee now is to hope that Zach would say yes to anything that cut him loose immediately.
Yeah. Especially if it was like, hey, listen, if you guys don't appeal, I'll do this. I mean, can there ever be any talks like that ahead of time? I don't know. Like, hey, don't appeal this. Charge me. And then I take the plea deal and it's time served and I walk away and it's just.
Zach would not walk out of prison today to sign something saying he had any culpability with it. He won't do it. I'm confident he just won't. I mean, would you want to sign something that says you killed and raped somebody? I know I would never. I would not want to be in that position. And I don't even, I'd like to think that I would hold out like Zach. I don't think I would actually do that well in jail as people might,
You'd be top dog. Stop it.
I don't know. I have a lot of dietary preferences and I don't do well with authority. I think.
Okay. Yeah. You know what would happen? You know what would happen in a jail day one for Katie that is not going to ever work?
I'd become red.
Someone would tell her no with the authority to enforce it. And then all hell would break loose.
Mm-hmm.
Then all hell would break loose, just like what's happening now. And when they said this, and someone asked about Dylan. How's Dylan doing?
Oh, yeah.
Or if we've had any contact. I've been to see Dylan twice at Riverbend. And I talked to him real briefly on the 29th last week. I told him the cavalry's coming. We're coming after him too, and to hold tight. And he's holding tight and waiting for his turn. He's anxious. They're not treating him well at Riverbend. They're not allowing him into protective custody, and they're I think TDOC's playing a little dirty with that. So he's not doing well, but he's hanging in there and doing everything he can.
Here's a personal question.
Being
'cause I'm-
denied medical care. He's
how are you able to juggle this? Because everything that I've read and saw, like you obviously, I don't think you've taken a dollar from Zach or his family. How are you able to do it? Like balancing your career with, hey, I'm gonna give everything I can to an innocent, somebody that I believe is innocent, and how are you able to balance it?
I mean, mediocre on a good day, but
just fucking winging it over here.
There's some things that I gotta live with myself, and it was my turn. It came up, like,
yeah,
I'll die in the sword. I'm not like.
But look at this job you've done, right?
Well,
it's
How about you, Dana?
Dana has better time management skills than me.
I'm lucky. I've arrived at the point in my career where I tell most people I won't take their money. I do work for money, of course, but I'm at the point where I can pick and choose what I want to do, and I have a lot of low friction, high leverage, positions. But that's not the reason. The reason is because my law license isn't worth a plug nickel if I don't do this. So, whatever the consequences of having done it are. When Katie and I started this, I said, "You ready to make a lot of powerful enemies?" And so,
right.
I mean, we both knew what we were getting into. We both knew that we were burning bridges. We both knew that we were going to be, making sacrifices professionally and personally. So none of what has happened here and is happening here comes as a surprise. We signed up for it. I would do it all again. Like Katie said, I have to live with myself. And when I saw what was happening here, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm gonna go back and pretend I didn't see all that shit and just,
be like them,
run the till and hope that I can make enough money to pacify my conscience. That's really not how it works.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't work like that. That's awesome.
And how do you do it? Like, we all do it. Like, what, all.
Yeah, no, I'm the type that I'm just like, if I don't go to bed until 2 a.m. or don't sleep at all, and that's what's just going to happen that day. And
it's stimulants and willpower.
I think it's like in your DNA, kind of like, it's like, I think he made a great point right there. How do you unsee something? You don't. And then if you are any type of a person that had like who are you inside, like character wise? And some people are just fucking assholes and they don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. And I just don't see that in you guys. And I think that it takes somebody that, like, I would never want somebody like that to ever even represent me. I want somebody that has the heart and soul of like a fucking warrior. Like, I don't want the fluff. I want somebody that is going to sacrifice, because that's how I would be. Like, I would just want what I would be, and I would want that, and I would return it. Like, that's just what I would. That's a character thing, though.
I'm hoping
we all have our gifts.
I've never met a really nice lawyer, though, so I'm not going to lie to you guys. Even defense attorneys out there, like, they're way better than prosecutors. But I'm always weary. I'm always like, yeah, but when someone can't pay you, then you're just bouncing. And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Like, how much money
You
is
gotta start a
money?
podcast with them. Then they're stuck with you and they have to represent you, because if you're in jail,
how do you find somebody that's like, yeah, dude, here, like, what do you want? $1,000 a week. Fine, here, just don't fucking leave and do a good damn job. Like, come on. Nope, give me 50,000 right now. I'm like, I don't have that, and I don't have that. You're gonna walk away knowing that I'm getting fucked, though. How do you do that? How do people do that? They do it every fucking day, though.
I'll tell you, there's an honest answer to that question, and that is that if you read the rules of professional conduct for lawyers, the very first one acknowledges that there is a tension between a lawyer's desire to make a living, a lawyer's responsibility to the client, and a lawyer's responsibility to the court. These things operate in a little in tension.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, and to pull the curtain back for you to answer your question, there's a lot of lawyers who get enamored with the lifestyle and the revenue and so I have colleagues that I know what they have to make a month just to keep the office open before they pay themselves. And so when you have tens of thousands of dollars of overhead because you have beautiful office space and multiple staff members and oil paintings and expensive rugs and leather couches, when that is a business model that you have either caused or allowed, then what are you going to do? You're going to sign up for pro bono cases because they're the right thing to do, or you want to keep the lights on. So there's a lot of lawyers that didn't necessarily set out to wind up in that situation, but over time they found themselves there, and they can't get off the gerbil wheel. They can't stop. They can't go backwards and say everyone's fired. I'm on my own and I'm gonna practice law with an iPad. So.
And I think we all have our different, because there are cases that have come by. There are pro bono cases I wanted to take that I didn't have the bandwidth at the time and I couldn't. And we all make those choices. I think things come by too, where we all have our strengths and our talents and things that we know we can contribute meaningfully to more than others. And I know my talent more than anything else. I can be an unrelenting, insufferable pain in the ass, like you cannot imagine.
Yeah.
And look, no one can compete with that. Like
that hasn't been my experience at all.
If I weren't me, because I'm not going to stop.
Doug,
when we first started this case, Doug said there was a less than 1% chance that we were even going to get here. And I said, oh no, we're not yet. I've already decided. It's just
winners find a way to win. I'm telling you, it's a mentality. I tell that to people all the time. I'm telling you, winners find a way to win. In life in general. If
Zach and Dylan are getting out of prison, they are prevailing in this case, and people will be held accountable.
Yeah,
try me. It's happening.
Yeah, sometimes your wins just like I said, I would rather
look at me, but it does. Like I'm not gonna stop.
Yes,
and more importantly, neither is Dana or Doug, because I won't let them.
Can I get a signed bow tie though? How do I get that? I just want to frame it.
Doug would be so mad if we started like bow ties for merch.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude,
baddie bow ties.
Yeah, bow tie. Yeah,
I could totally get Doug to sign things without knowing what I was doing with it. He would be
I just want it for my office. That's like right in here. These closed walls right here.
We're gonna get you a bow tie baddie sign.
How about we just have a pin behind and like every victory over the course of the case here. Oh, but that's when we won that little argument there. We won over here. Remember that?
He's gonna have to start signing merch dog baits.
Isn't that great? Like make him like, hey, can you wear this bone looking one? Like it's
yeah. There has never been a person ever more so than Doug that just doesn't want any attention and wants to be just quietly ignored while he does the right thing.
You could tell that.
I completely fucked with him on the first day of the evidentiary hearing.
That was mean.
Doug,
even I wouldn't have.
Doug and I have known each other a long time. We haven't had a million cases together, but we've known each other a long time. And I knew his dad before that. So Doug knew that Katie and I were...
Doug likes me better than Dana. Not anymore, but he did at the beginning.
So Doug knew that Katie and I were sort of up to no good. So day one of the evidentiary hearing, he's about to call his first witness. It is game day, ready to go, and he is literally up at the council table. And I walked up and I was like, "Hey man, good luck today. Oh, by the way, Katie and I are starting a podcast." He was like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Oh yeah, we are. Do good today though."
You got this, buddy.
You got this, buddy.
You got this all day. And he's probably like, "What?"
Oh, it threw him off a little bit.
His whiteboards give me orgasms. You don't understand. I have whiteboards like. We roll them in like legit. Like I'm in my house and I got whiteboards just being rolled in. And I'm like, dude, look at this man. He's like going up and pulling up. He's like, do you see all these things I was pointing out? And I was just like, who is this man? He's a god. Dude, I was like, this is who you need to have represent you for anything. I don't care if it's a parking ticket.
He really is that good, because I get asked a lot for attorney recommendations because I work with attorneys all the time, and I have different attorneys I'll recommend for different things.
God, I just love him.
Doug is the attorney I recommend when you're kind of a little bit of maybe a messy client. Like your case is either complicated or there's just like people.
Tell her which ones you send to him versus which ones you send to me.
I feel bad because then people, when I recommend you guys, people are gonna get.
Sometimes
So Doug,
this is not always the criteria, but
Doug, yeah, just know that if you are recommended either of these attorneys, it doesn't mean I think this of you necessarily, but Doug is the attorney I recommend when your case looks a little messy and you seem like the kind of client that people might not be patient enough to listen to the full story because it just is it's like, but you're right. Like you are in the right. You should win, but it's just really going to take someone to be patient and listen to your story and truly understand it and unravel it to get it. And so what better case could Doug ever have than this one? And Dana, who is my attorney, is the bitch whisperer.
He's the bitch whisperer. He's like,
if you are an intense person who is difficult to control or maintain,
who needs to be told no,
that is sometimes going to say, time for you to shut the fuck up.
You better shut the fuck up.
Dana's the attorney for you because he has a way of managing clients without offending them so much that they just go off the deep end, but getting them to be quiet. And somehow he and I just get along well. I know.
This has been fucking awesome. Hey, anybody in chat have any questions for these two fucking amazing people? What do you guys like? I'm over here just having my own heyday. Like, hey, yeah, what do you think about this? And what about this? So you said 2027. That's when. Well, we're gonna get a decision 60 to 90 days. I'm with you. I think that this is gonna be vacated. Then I think we're gonna get mainstream media finally like having Zachary's back the way that they should have for like the past, I don't know, 16 months. I just felt like they've been just teetering it.
Well, listen, convicted killer stays convicted is not a story, right?
Yeah.
Now I've told,
but it's the Lana,
especially when
Matt Williams, Dr. Decoder in here,
for sure.
Misdemeanor, all the other channels that are, because if it's just me and Dana, we're just two lunatics and mainstream media is not listening. I think it's y'all that have been following it, giving credibility, giving more scrutiny to it. That's really helped.
Katie, I have said, wait until Bradbury potentially grants this petition and vacates this conviction. Wait until the lawyers and the media come out of the woodwork saying, "Oh, I knew you guys. I was with you guys all along. I had you, like I told everybody y'all were right." And I'm like sitting there going, "It's going to be all I can do to not tell them to get out of my face."
Yeah.
Where were you when a small group of us were fighting the state of Tennessee? Exactly. Now you're here for the victory party. Get the fuck out of here.
Exactly.
Katie,
that's how I.
Katie, somebody asked. What was the story?
I knew it. We are soulmates. I think a cowbell.
I'm like over here, like, fuck you, get the fuck out of my face. I'm like,
a cowbell. Come on. Can we get rid of Dana and you and I just do this thing? Dana's
Katie,
gonna be
representing
me in my defamation suits.
He just killed it. He's like, get the fuck up out of my face. I was like, yes, because they need a wake up call. And everybody just wants to go suck them off after, like, when they want to come around mainstream media. It's like, where the hell have you been? I was begging for you to just cover it. You can cover your bias twist, but if it can be seen, people have their own brains. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
dude, come on,
any coverage. Question it.
But convicted killer is still convicted is not a story. Now, as soon as Bradbury's opinion drops, if he vacates that conviction, holy shit, Katie's phone is going to ring off the hook.
I have burnt some bridges with some local media. I won't name names, but I've had some inflammatory interactions.
Lana, somebody asked, you asked for questions, and somebody posed one that I know Katie wants to answer.
Oh, where is it?
Dr. Spirko, what was Zach talking about when he was being cross-examined about a call with you where there was something to be buried?
I was sending Brent Booth on a wild goose chase by planting a fleece blanket that was Nicholas Cage being peeled out of a banana in a deer stand on his grandpa's property. And I had a trail camera that I was setting up next to it. But then Doug got real upset about that and thought it was unnecessary. So I ended up not following through with the bait I was setting, but I am confident Brett Booth would have trespassed on that property had I followed through with it. But it was a Nicolas Cage fleece blanket and 2 sequin Nicolas Cage like pillows that I was going to stuff the blanket into. I was talking about it with an air of suspiciousness on the line. I don't think Zach actually even knew what it was, but he knew that we were just like messing with them.
Yeah.
We
gotta have some fun.
But frankly, as a psychologist, when you're in prison and you're wrongfully convicted, and I don't know how you even handle that. Humor can be an effective coping mechanism, and putting a little levity in a situation. If calling Nichols some names and making some comments that Doug would be upset about when he reviews those calls, just gonna. I think that whatever.
Well, especially that's how I feel about true crime when we're covering all these cases, and I want to like crack a joke at the end of my show or at the beginning of my show to like lighten it up. Like it's like people are actually like, oh, you know, that's why I kind of like coming over here, because if there's something else that's going on, like we're able to, you know, break it. Just hey, come on, it's just needed. It's
yeah.
I think
when you work with darkness,
therapy. It's like
it's a line, because you don't. I mean, people have such deep, real, tragic, unimaginable pain associated with these cases. It's like you don't ever want to be disrespectful,
right?
But at the same time, you can't live under that kind of weight and not suffocate from it if you're not getting some kind of relief. And humor is a powerful.
Joking around is okay. You know what I mean? And people that try to like take that the wrong way, I'm sorry. Hey, that's your opinion, but I have my right to my opinion, and then I want to fucking joke around. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, you should have seen.
I want to put a whoopee cushion underneath Dana when he gets to sit down and get on a podcast. I'm gonna do it, and I'm over there like, what is wrong with you?
You should have seen the text message thread between me, Katie, and Dog Bates the day after the last hearing. It was brutal. We were roasting each other to death. It was so. I mean, it was one of those things where it's like we had been immersed in this, you know, fire for like a year and a half together.
Yeah.
And we have fought like cats and dogs sometimes now, and made up and fought and made up and fought. And it's been
But that's
tough.
a good trust thing. That means you trust each other.
Yeah. And so we all go home after the last hearing. And the next day, I forget who started, but there's a 3-way text between us. And we roasted each other mercilessly in the way that you can do only if you've been through all that.
Yeah.
And you know it's not over, but we have a moment here where we can like, you know, like say what we want to say in a way that's like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but I need to tell you, you suck sometimes.
It's like the Saturday Night Live, like,
and it's heavy, like it's intense. It's just a lot of intensity. And I think we all have big personalities.
Oh my God. Listen, we went to Savannah.
I'm totally going to say what happened after court. I've already decided, Dana.
We went to Savannah multiple times, and leading up to going to Savannah every time, and then being in Savannah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And there was a lot of intensity. You know, Katie was sequestered, and so she couldn't go to the courthouse. She couldn't watch these things, but she wanted to be, you know, present, and it was a lot. And I'm glad we made it this far. I'm glad that there's a bit of a break where it's out of our hands.
Yeah.
You know, Katie and I are going to keep doing what we're doing here, and Doug gets to go back and divorce people for a while and not have to worry about it. And then we're all gonna. Are
you guys gonna go on a horror tour? Are you going on a horror tour? Did I kick off the horror tour?
Don't, Katie, please don't. Seriously, just you don't.
It's hilarious.
It's.
Just show us your sleeves again, and it's all good.
Okay, but that's part of it, right? A family member of Cindy's started taking pictures of Dana because me and Dana were arguing outside the courtroom, and they thought Dana was like aggressively harassing me because they didn't know what was going on. And the funniest part is I was totally the problem. But he has like sleeves.
Katie,
leaves, and you know they see the two of us. It was 100% me.
Katie was throwing a tantrum about something.
You got mad at me for the thing because I told Nichols or I told
that was
Myra
true
that she was
too, but
disgusting.
that's true too. But then you threw a little tantrum, and I wasn't having it.
I love it.
And someone who thought that they were watching an assault, or somebody thought that like I was getting in Katie's face.
I was so excited because I was like, "Oh, I gotta tell Katie."
And I looked up out of my windshield, and this woman is like taking pictures of me and scowling at the person sitting next to her, and I'm like, "What the fuck is that woman doing?" I found out later that woman thought she was taking pictures of me,
and then I'm like walking off like I didn't do anything wrong.
I was like, if you knew what a brat she was being, you wouldn't be mad at me.
You guys are on the 911 call. Hey, we got these two. We have a domestic dispute.
Dude,
our poor intern, Kinsey, the intern's just sitting there like trying to look less uncomfortable than she feels. They're just like, "Get in the car, Kinsey."
Oh, Kinsey the intern. Poor thing. I mean, she's like in the middle of these things, like powerless to stop it, and yet
just
can't
trying
leave.
to seem less awkward than we were making it clearly for her.
Okay, okay, so I get people trolling me all the time. So when I had sent out a message saying that, hey, hit me up, guys, I would love to have you on the show, I get this random email back. And I'm like, is someone trolling me? Who is this Kinsey the intern? I swear this is like total Trollville. Like, I'll get people sending emails all the time trying to like fuck with me. Like, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so's cousin, and I want to talk to you about this case. And then I was like, okay, well, I think like, and then you like messaged me, and I was like, oh, thank God, because I was like, I think I'm getting punked. I was like,
well,
I
don't know
into this email.
way to handle these things. I think you posted something.
Yeah,
I commented on it, and I'm like, Kinsey, find her email address and send her my number.
Fuck on this channel right now. I was like, I want to host you guys, and I was like, I think this is who is this? I was like, oh God, and then I was like, oh, thank God. I was like freaking out, but at first I was like, I think someone's fucking with me. So that's funny. Now I get to meet. See, we have to meet now. All of us in person.
We've got to do it.
Then once I saw that DB was all over your guys' channel, I was like, oh, if DB loves them, I'm gonna definitely
love
DB.
Them. We do. We want to recruit DB. DB's gonna be like our secret analyst guy for season 2, I think. I've already decided.
Yeah, he is so fucking legit, man. We've done stuff with Delphi. I love it. All Eyes Delphi. Like, we're just all about this whole everybody that's just there's so many wrong. I feel like it's like the decade of wrongful convictions. It's crazy. These high profile cases that have just, if it's not a wrongful conviction, it's a God, this person did not get a fair trial at all. Like to even, I mean, to choose if it's going to be guilty or innocent. It's just crazy. But I see all these names in chat. I'm like, these are really, really good people in here, and they're diehard. So
DB, I think you've had enough people vouch for you at this point. It's solved the problem that I won't discuss.
Oh, for sure.
That we'll just move forward with.
It's my map guy, man. I'm like, hey, DB, check this out. I was like, I need you to whip this up for the Shannon Gardner case. I was like, I'm telling you, something is up here with the ATF. Sure as shit. He's like, I was like, yeah, what do you think? He's like, oh, for fuck's yeah, because it was just funny. I was like, he's a good dude.
Never he's a good example. If you, like reach out if you have a talent and you want to help with some social justice, because I can barely, if I have clean hair, it's a good day for me. And if I've managed to do anything, imagine what y'all can do, because.
Oh yeah. I forgot about Dr. Walla. So would you be the equivalent of a Dr. Walla in the Delphi case if you were to, when you testified?
I wouldn't equate myself to Dr. Walla.
So, but you would just blow her out of the water, you know?
I would conduct myself appropriately and not make the situation worse.
I just, wouldn't like lie that I went on all these, I don't know, true podcasts or was like in all these Facebook groups and then just finding my own evidence. And then I was just feeding it to them. Pretty crazy, huh? It's wild.
Yeah, for a while, the only forensic neuropsychologist that I could ever, like when people are asking, like, because it's, not very, it's a specific field. And the only real media representation we had for a long time was, I forget what, it had Edward Norton in it. I think that movie where there's he's like
Primal Fear.
Yes.
That's my favorite movie. Well, are you talking about how?
Yeah, the doctor in it that gets it wrong and ruins everything because she just doesn't figure it out. And then at the end, he's like, "Gotcha, bitch. I'm actually."
I'm fucking. There was no Roy, motherfucker.
Yeah, that was the only real like forensic
I watched
neuropsychologist I've
Gere.
seen represented.
Oh my god, Dana, you're Richard Gere. Like you're the Richard Gere. Oh my god.
Look at that. And I'm the idiot that gets the primal fear theme wrong. We don't really. We wouldn't really get it wrong.
It's the sequel though, so we can have a twist.
Exactly. She just didn't have all the data. She didn't get the full case file, or she would have figured it out.
No. Heck no. If she would have gotten all those boxes of all the ATM files.
You're only as good as your data.
That's what I always say. You're only as good as your evidence, man. And you got to dig to find it, and then that's how you get it to a lawyer. Because we basically make the lawyers look good, the researchers. Because if you don't have it, then what are you going to go to court with? Yep. I say that all the time. People think I'm lying, but I'm like, you go ask a lawyer how they're going to represent you without somebody that's going to dig up all your shit and organize it for you to say, hey, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, you guys have been awesome. Any other questions in chat? Because I've kept you guys here for 2 hours and 45 minutes. What else do you guys want to finish on? Anything?
Dana, have you forgiven Katie for gaslighting you in real time on the podcast? Remember the gaslighting?
I do remember that.
All's forgiven.
I remember it, but
he was kind of like you were almost like you didn't want to admit that you were gaslit. You were trying
for a minute. I was like, what? For a split second, then I was like, oh, this bitch. I get it.
This bitch. Thank you, Mama B. Appreciate you for being in here. Top-level investigation worker right here. Atlanta's Relentless. I am. I will fucking. You give me a bone, I will tell you.
She's legit.
If there's anything on it, I will fucking find it for you. Or I'll tell you, man, there's nothing there. I went in the gutters for that one. Mm-hmm. So, thank you guys so much. Anything else? Like I said, anything that I can do to help. I know that you guys are rock stars, but if you need anybody to do some grunt work, let me know. I'm down.
We'll definitely be happy to pull you in on stuff. There's going to be more coming.
Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of chaos coming in on season 2 that's going to make this first thing look like it was boring.
Right? I'm excited for that.
If
this was boring, we're in grab the popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Dana, what do you got for your closing argument here? What do you got left?
Weirder. Say your favorite thing about me for the end.
My favorite thing about you?
Yeah. I always do that. Everyone always has a sarcastic answer.
I'll tell you what Doug said one time when the three of us were in a tiff.
This is real.
We were fighting about I don't even know what.
We weren't even fighting. We were just putting Doug in because Doug gets anxious.
And Doug said.
I'd asked Doug if you could only keep me or Dana, who would you keep if you could only have one of us? Because we like to put him in little, alignments because he thinks that we're going to get our feelings hurt and we're just messing with him.
Doug's answer to that was, Dana, I love you, and you are the best ally a guy could ask for. But Katie is the worst enemy anyone could ever have, so I'm going to have to pick her.
He said if you could take out one enemy, it would be me. If he could have one ally, it would be Dana.
So I think I'll take that compliment, but also concede the point.
It was such a lawyer answer because both Dana and I felt like we won. We both got the answer we wanted.
You probably that probably happens all the time. Though you're like, don't lawyer answer me. I want to talk about this. Just take the lawyer out. That would probably be the hard part with two lawyers and you're not a lawyer, so you're like, stop lawyering. Right now.
The psychologists, we write the book that the lawyers read from to learn how to manipulate people. Don't get it twisted.
Okay, so she's like,
I'm not the one. I'm not the one who's the victim in these conversations who's getting worked over.
See, there it is. All right, well, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on. I know that you guys go a million places. I just thank you for trusting me to have you guys on, and you're gag free. You're like, I got my voice back, bitch.
Making up for lost time.
Thank you so much for coming here to blast it.
Thank you so much for having us. Please go over to our channel and subscribe.
Yes, we've been dropping the link all. I think, did they get over 3,000 tonight?
Oh, we were close. Are we going to be at it?
I think we popped your cherry, so we'll shake it. 3,000 bitches. We're going to double that. You guys, we can double that literally in a week. I'm going to blast that channel. Come on. If you want to know all about this case, Holly Bobo deserves the proper justice. Zachary Adams did not do it. And I would just give anything for the Bobo family to be on board with it, just to say, like, come on, yeah, like my daughter deserves better. Like, because she does. She's the ultimate victim here. She lost her life, you know? And I think that you guys have been so gracious to her being the victim, but yet you're still being, you know, doing right by your client and advocating for him while not losing sight of the victim. So I think you guys deserve so much credit for that as well. So thank you guys
very much. And
appreciate
we so appreciate it. And please, and challenge us if you see anything we've missed, if you see anything we need to like go into.
Oh, I'm going to challenge you.
Put it on comments. Comment.
I love it.
It helps.
Thank you guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys. We are out. We appreciate you guys. Until next time. Truth and Transparency and Trial and Error Podcast. Peace.